Check the mic and make sure it sound right, boys.
Welcome back to another episode of the Chad Smith Podcast. My name is Chad Smith. Today is Tuesday, January 18th, 2022, and I'm joined today by my loyal co-host, as always, all the way from Fresno, California. Please welcome Sonny Conway.
Good morning, everybody.
How's it going, Sonny?
How's it going, Chad? How you doing, man?
Oh, pretty good, man. Pretty good. I think I'm finally getting used to this new time.
Yeah, I keep waking up earlier than I need to.
Yeah, I saw that message. Keep thinking you're going to miss the show?
Yep. Keep thinking I'm sleeping through it.
That's better than what I was doing and actually sleeping through it. Almost.
Yeah.
Kelly Lewis says she's in Fresno, California.
Hey, Kelly.
Small world. Hey, Bobby. Good morning. Got Bobby Stout in the house. Diesel Girl.
Bobby.
I saw you were up and ready to rock and roll this morning. Cosmic Weach, what's going on? How's it going, Sarah? Akashi Chris, good morning. Good to see you. Nightmare, how's it going, Nightmare? Alien Girl, what's going on, Amy? Good to see you. Enzo, how's it going? Hey, if you guys haven't checked out Alien Girl's morning show, she's got a show that goes on before this one comes on. Maybe one day we're gonna merge them so that hers goes right into ours. I don't know how we're going to do that, but she might have to just stay on there longer, do a couple hours instead of a half hour. So go over there and subscribe to her channel, please. Kelly Lewis, how's it going? I already said hi to you. You're the one that lives in Fresno. Dominic Tormino, how's it going there, buddy? Hey, what's up, Peckerhead? That's an inside joke. That's what my Uncle Bill calls us. Paranormal Chop Shop. What's going on, Sonny? Good to see you, bud.
That's right.
Grey Wolf, good to see you. And I think that's about it. Mr. Crowley, how's it going? Sup, homies? I think we got it. No problem. You're welcome, absolutely. So, guys, backstage, actually today we're just going to do listener call-ins, and right now we've got a special guest that's been here before, but he's going to be with us for about an hour, and we got some other things we're going to cover with him that we didn't get to last time. So, please welcome to the show, Eddie Haskell.
Hey, boys.
How's it going, buddy?
Hey, good.
Geez,
everything was sounding really good. Say something, Chad. All of a sudden.
Niner, come in, Niner. This is a audio test of the Chad Smith podcast.
Yeah, not quite as clear as you were, but I can make you out okay.
Okay. I wonder why that was.
I don't know. Is it Chad or is it me too, Eddie?
Yeah, both of you. It's just a little bit broken up. It was so clear when I talked to you guys a few minutes ago. But as soon as the show started, it just breaking up just a hair. But
1 second. Is that any better?
It sounds a little better. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Maybe that'll work. For now.
It sounds a little funny. It almost sounds animated.
Somebody told me. All right, let me see.
But I can make you out okay as long as you can hear me.
I still sound like an alien?
A little bit, just a little bit. Yeah, it sounds like your voice is higher than it should be. It's almost like a squeak to it.
Let's see. Hey guys in the chat, can you guys let us know if our voices sound weird? And
yeah, Are we messed up too? And hi, Kelly, Fresno.
Kelly from Fresno. Spooky Morales.
I wonder if someone else in my house is on the internet might have something to do with it.
Oh, okay.
That
might be we're getting clear as a bell. Everything sounds normal and sounds good to me.
Okay. Well, I can make you guys out just fine, so I can deal with it.
All right. Deal. Sorry about that, Eddie. It's probably a StreamYard issue, to be honest. Everything's working weird this month.
Yeah, I've had trouble with the internet. We had a big storm roll in yesterday. That storm that come up from the south. I lost my internet a couple times yesterday.
Oh, okay.
In fact, right after I talked to you, Chad, last night, my internet went down.
Oh.
Yeah.
They're saying Mercury in retrograde, so everything's going to be screwed up.
Yeah, I went to jump on Spaced Out Radio after Thomas Fessler.
Oh, okay.
And a few minutes into the show, I lost my connection.
Yeah, I don't know. That's just something weird that's going on with technology right now. We're having issues with StreamYard every now and then, too.
Yeah.
So, but anyway, so yeah, did you bring some stuff with us or with you today for?
Yeah, I don't know if anyone there, if I'm just gonna regress for a minute. My first visit to the show. I mentioned a few instances that happened in my life, and how the number 3 and the number 8, the infinity sign, the spirit sign, number 3, the life path number, kind of comes up over and over in my life. I just like to mention one thing. If you guys remember when I was telling the experience of the man in the beard and the bridge collapse. And the day of that bridge collapse, which was April 1987, the tractors, it was a fleet truck, and tractors and trailers all have numbers. And it was tractor number 3, and it was trailer number 8, which is the infinity sign is number 8,
Yeah.
And 3 is the spirit sign, 3 is related to a lot of things in life. And another thing where the number 3 pops out a lot in my life, the house I'm in right now is number 3. And Chad, if you could throw up that picture of the Harley motorcycle, I don't know if you can throw that up. It's something I just happened to notice this recently. Now, is there any way you can magnify that picture?
I can.
Oh, can or cannot?
Yeah, I can. It's going to take me. I just got to open it up a different way.
Okay.
Let's see here.
Something interesting. I also found synchronicity in that picture of me when I was little. And also referring to the number 3 and 8. I don't know if you can make it big or not, but if you can see the license plate in the front window of that bike behind the windscreen.
Front window? No, it's so it's too pixelated.
Okay, well, above
right here.
It says 38
right above the headlights. The plate number is 883. And remember how I talked about 2 previous lives?
Yeah.
2 infinity signs and the number 3.
That's pretty cool.
And that's a picture of me right there. I was 3 years old.
Whoa.
And that was my uncle's Harley. Kids in the 60s, we grew up quick. You know what I'm saying? This is my first job on the highway patrol.
You guys grew up quick.
Just doing my job.
Yep.
On the
just
highway
stayed in
patrol.
first gear.
You got to remember back in these days, we didn't have cell phones, so you'd have a couple sugar babies broken down with a flat tire on the side of the road, right? They needed Eddie Haskell come along, help them out. They didn't have no cell phone, right?
That's right. Yep.
Yeah.
No other option.
Right. I was young, rich, powerful, and all women wanted me. Of course, at that age, I think they wanted to breastfeed me, but
that's probably what it was.
At least they wanted me.
That's right.
But yeah, I thought it was kind of interesting. My father had passed away last spring, and someone at the funeral actually passed me this picture, and I saw the plate number in the window, of the bike, and the windscreen 883, and right away I just developed the synchronicities.
Yeah.
8 is known as the infinity sign, and of course I talked of 2 past lives, one involving horses and one involving the ocean as a sailor. And it kind of signifies that, and of course the number 3, spirit, mind, body.
Yep, absolutely.
Past, present, future, birth, life, death, beginning, middle, end.
Yep.
Creativity, communication, expression, harmony, wisdom, understanding. It's the life path number.
Yeah.
Heart, body, soul. Number 3, it talks about the lessons that one has to learn in order to move forward in life. And but I have that synchronicity with number 3 and
That's
the number 8.
That's pretty cool. And you just found this picture recently, or
yeah,
did you?
just past spring, right?
Okay.
And it was kind of tragic. That was my uncle's motorcycle, and he was quite the guy. But unfortunately, he died very young. He was only in his 40s when he died.
Oh,
And
wow.
unfortunately, he got some bad medical advice, and he took some medicine. He was taking some medicine that killed him.
Oh, man.
The doctor obviously didn't look into something, but I think he had some kind of an allergic response. And of course, this was back in, I believe it was the early 80s. And, they didn't have the medicine they have now. And
Yeah.
things a little. Oh, there's Bobby. Third time's a charm. Exactly.
Yeah, Bobby was putting all kinds of math here in the chat. I didn't
well,
catch
she
it
would
first.
know exactly more than me, as far as, the numerology.
3 + 8 = 11.
Right. And of course, number 3 is the first number that makes a geometric pattern, which would be a triangle.
Mm-hmm.
And, you can go on and on about 3. And then, so many lessons in life are based on the number 3. The 3 blind mice, 3 little pigs, the 3 musketeers.
Yeah. Oh, geez. The more you point them out. Yeah.
Yeah.
There's a lot of them.
Right. A lot of that numerology.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So anyway, I just wanted to bring up that little picture there. And,
Okay.
Yeah,
that's pretty cool. Oh, how do I get rid of it? Okay. Cool. Yeah. When you start noticing stuff like that, I didn't realize all the things you were pointing out. All the 3 blind mice and 3 musketeers.
Yeah.
There's a lot of 3s going on. 3 Stooges.
Yeah. Oh yeah, 3 Stooges. Yeah. Once again, the house I'm in right now was number 3. And
Wow.
the day of that bridge collapse, I was in truck 3 and trailer 108, which was considered trailer 8. We used to put a 10 in front of the trailer number so they weren't confused with the tractors.
Oh, okay.
But yeah, so I hit the day of the bridge collapse. It was tractor 3 and trailer 8. So I just thought I'd regress a minute on that.
Yeah, absolutely, for sure.
Yeah, and I sent you another picture, and that's about a staircase in the woods. It's one I just recently found. I don't know if you want to throw up that picture.
That's this one here.
Yeah, this is a staircase I recently found in the woods. I was climbing up the side of a hill and I found this. But this is what I would consider a legit staircase in the woods. Mm-hmm. And by legit, I mean I could find evidence of structure where this used to be part of a structure. It's the staircases that don't have any visible signs of structure around them. Those are the ones you want to be concerned about.
Yeah.
But I actually found a staircase in the woods many, many years ago, before anyone ever brought it up on the internet. We didn't have the internet. You're talking, I was probably in my teens. Mm-hmm. And we were taking a canoe trip down a river, me and, let me see how many people. I think there was 5 of us. And we had this river here in eastern Massachusetts. You could canoe down about 20 miles and hit the ocean. And we had this one place where we used to camp quite a bit, and it was in a wildlife sanctuary. There was nothing for miles in this certain area where we used to go camping. And once again, I'll mention, my life growing up, I was always outside. I was either in the woods or on the ocean. I was a sailor my whole life, and when I wasn't on the ocean, I was in the woods. And me and my pals, we decided quite often we'd take these canoe trips down this river, and we'd go into this bird sanctuary. There wasn't nothing for 10 miles in any direction. And one day we were going down this river. We had 2 canoes. I think we had 2 guys in one canoe carrying all the beer, and then I think we had 3 guys in the other canoe. And we pulled off to the side. We got a little spot where you could see deer were coming down to the water to drink. Because we all had to jump out and, had to pee, Mm-hmm. And it's kind of hard to pee in a canoe, especially when you got like 5 guys.
Yeah, exactly.
So we pulled up, and I walked up this little embankment. Lo and behold, there is a cement staircase just sitting in a small clearing surrounded by huge oak trees. And when I mean a cement staircase, this looked like a prefab, like one big block of cement staircase. And it was just so out of place. I mean, this is long before, anyone ever mentioned staircases in the woods. And we all had an ominous feeling about it. We really, and I remember what I did. I didn't go up the staircase, but I went to the right and to the left of the staircase to see if I could find any remnants, of a foundation or something, some kind of a building there at one time.
Mm-hmm.
And I could find nothing. And this thing was all alone. And there wasn't a road within 10 miles of that thing. And I don't know how anyone could someone would have had to carry in bags of cement and pour it if this was a man-made staircase. It was totally bizarre. So anyway, we all had a very ominous feeling about it. And no one really wanted to go near the damn thing because it was just so out of place. We all had a funny feeling. But one thing that happened after we had found that staircase, we all got back in the canoe and got out of there. And we had decided that on our way back, we were going to stop and check it out more thoroughly. But when we got to our camping area, it was now late afternoon. One of my friends, he went out to cut some firewood. And he went up to a dead tree with an axe, and he went to cut the tree. And the tree was what you would call a widowmaker, where it was dead and the top broke off and came down and hit him in the head.
Ooh.
And it peeled his scalp right back, right on the hairline across his forehead. It peeled it right down to the back of his neck. It was like he was scalped by an Indian. That's what it basically looked like. It was gruesome. And we were a long way from anywhere. And so what we did, we ended up taking the guy's scalp, basically pulled it back up over his head, and then we tied shirts around his head. And he was bleeding profusely. It was awful. And we ended up laying him in a canoe, and we all took off. We left all our gear. We just took him, so we could go as fast as we could. And we kept two guys paddling as fast as we could in the canoe with them. And it probably took us, I'm saying the better part of 3 hours before we got him into a hospital.
Wow.
But he lost a lot of blood. So on the way back, we never did ever stop at that staircase.
Mm-hmm.
So it was several years later, and that staircase came up in conversation again. And we were making another trip down that river. And I was pretty sure, exactly where that staircase was, but we could never find it again. We had stopped at a few spots, and I was pretty sure that was the spot, but we never found the staircase again.
Wow.
But if the staircase had anything to do with the freak accident, I don't know.
Right. Mr. Crowley says that story went south fast. Ouch, I'm awake now. Yeah, that was, that's gruesome, man.
Yeah, it really was. He was very lucky to live. In fact, we got him to the hospital, and I think he was in the hospital, probably the better part of a week anyway. Mm-hmm. He lost a lot of blood. He was in rough shape.
Did he lose consciousness?
He was in and out,
Oh.
Yeah, it wasn't too good.
He was probably wishing he was out.
Oh, we were such a long way from anywhere, It was a life and death situation. If he had been by himself, he would have perished.
So did he walk himself out, or did you guys have to carry him?
Well, we laid him out into the canoe.
In the canoe, okay.
Yeah, we were in a canoe, so we laid him on the floor of the canoe,
Right.
And then we followed with 3 of us in the empty canoe, and we'd always keep 2 paddlers that were fresh, get him up the river as fast as we could. We had to paddle back up the river, so it was a lot of extra work there, too.
Yeah, that's not easy either.
Yeah.
Jeez.
But that was my staircase in the woods story.
That one's gruesome.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Huh. Yeah, there's man, that's not something that you expect to have happen when you're just out in the woods hanging out with your friends.
Yeah, sure wasn't, yeah. But I've been keeping my eyes open for cryptid stories, but there hasn't been anything. I've been, I always check the news to see what's weird going on, but we haven't had any cryptid tales. But I've always noticed that in the winter, the Bigfoot tales and the cryptid tales tend to disappear in the wintertime. I think it has a lot to do with the amount of people who are in the woods or who are out. The wintertime, just, you don't hear the cryptid stories like you do in the summer or the good weather.
I guess I didn't realize that there was like seasons for that. Like,
yeah, there tends to be, yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
Well, we're just in a low time right now, I guess, for cryptid news.
Yeah, I was keeping my eyes open, to see if I could find you a cryptid story or two. But no, The news has been empty of cryptid stories. I haven't had nothing at all.
Have to be back around when it gets warmer out, I guess.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, we haven't really heard too much actually either as far as Sasquatch or anything goes right now.
No, it's been quiet. It's been very quiet.
Who asked to go outside?
I said it's too cold to go outside looking for
That's
Sasquatch
true.
right now.
I'm telling you, this is embarrassing to admit, but I came home Friday morning from work, and I don't think I left this apartment the whole weekend. Pretty embarrassing. It was either raining or it was 12 degrees outside, so I didn't really do much.
Yeah, even California, Sonny. It's been cold this year out there.
Yeah.
I've been watching you on a few of your podcasts, coats on and hats, It's been cold in California.
Yeah, it's averaging. Tonight's not too bad. It's 48, so it's not too bad.
Yeah, that's still a little chilly for California, though.
Yeah. It's been like 37, 38 in here.
That's chilly.
Yeah, it's chilly.
Yeah.
It's 37 here right now. Or 27, sorry.
Yeah, we're about the same here, Chad, in New Hampshire. We're right around 27. We just went through a week that we were down around 0. And then yesterday we got that storm come up the coast. And it warmed up to about 50, and it just poured. Pouring rain and wind. We had like 60-mile-an-hour winds.
Oh, wow. And then it got real cold?
And then today it got colder again. Right now it's probably about 27, 25.
Yeah, it's that time of the year. It's weird.
Yeah.
Goes through big dips.
Yeah. Anything you guys want to talk about, or bring something else up if you want? Anything on your mind? Any questions or anything?
No, not right now, really.
Yeah. Well, I'll tell you, listeners, once again that, I still have a tale of an abduction, but there just isn't time today. That would be an episode in itself.
Okay. Yeah, we can totally dedicate that to its own.
Yeah, I just wouldn't have the time today to even start on that. But, basically I stumbled into if I can say the word, hybridization. I met a lady and a sister. They were involved in a hybridization project. And the next thing you know, I had an encounter myself. And it wasn't pretty. But I have to go into that at some point. That's going to have to be another day.
Yeah, that sounds very interesting.
But that's by far away the, most craziest thing that ever happened to me.
Mr. Crowley, Eddie is in New Hampshire.
Yep. I'm right on the Massachusetts border. I can basically run out of my house and run into Massachusetts.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Right on the border.
Yeah, I get kind of a funny situation when I moved into this house years ago. It's a pretty big lot, and the lot is actually shaped 5 sides like a pentagon. And I really, I didn't know exactly where the borders were and stuff. And so I made a trip to the what's called the Hall of Deeds, which is where you would go to get plot plans. See who used to own houses, who owns the house now, stuff like that. And so I went there, basically I wanted to get a plot plan, have my yard surveyed. You're going back about 30 years. And there was just a wealth of information at the Hall of Deeds. I found like previous owners and all my neighbors, who used to own their houses, a lot of interesting stuff.
That's pretty
cool. Not only did I take all my information, but I took information for my neighbors, because I had some neighbors who were just as curious. They had no idea where the property lines were.
Huh. And that's all just public information you can just go and grab, huh?
Yeah, I think today they do it all on the internet. I don't even know if they have a Hall of Deeds anymore.
Right.
But at any rate, I was at the Hall of Deeds, and when I had moved in here, there was one house that bordered my property, and it was a man and a woman and a small child, and they seemed very mysterious. They never came out. They never went to work. It was a very mysterious situation. And so when I was at the Hall of Deeds, I come to find out that the house was they didn't even own the house, the people living in it. Mm-hmm. And there was some notation. And I asked the lady, I said, what does this mean? I got these people living here. Obviously they don't own the house. It shows that somebody else owns the house. And the lady, who I was pretty friendly with, she goes, I'm not supposed to tell you this, but that house is owned by the federal government. And so I go, federal government? That's a little odd. She goes, well, most likely it's a house for someone in the witness protection program.
Oh.
And so, yeah. So for years now, I've had a house that actually borders my house. And the people who were there, and whoever does come is in the witness protection.
Yeah, really? Whoever shows up.
Yeah, so I have met a couple interesting individuals, actually. So anyway, I was living here maybe about a year. And one day, a couple black SUVs pulled up to that house.
Really?
And there was a lady, a man, a little baby. Well, not a baby, but he was probably a little 2-year-old boy. And they were basically whisked off with suitcases in their hands. And the house sat empty for a couple weeks.
Wow.
And then I remember a truck coming and taking out beds, taking out stuff like that. The house was empty for another few weeks. All of a sudden, one day, a couple black SUVs pull in. A guy and his wife get out. And okay, so they were there for probably about 5 or 6 months. They never left the house. They didn't go to work. And so I said to myself, well, the lady must have been completely right, because just like the last people, right? And the only time they'd ever leave the house, if it was after dark, they'd come out in the yard or something. Weird. And they were there long enough where they actually had 2 kids. So they were there for probably about 5 years, had a couple kids. Got slightly friendly with the guy. I had talked to him on a few occasions. Mm-hmm. And one day he pretty much spilled the beans to me. Not that I asked, but he was actually from Detroit. And what he did, he was in some kind of a drug syndicate in Detroit. And he obviously turned in Mr. Big.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And, this is basically what I got from him. But he was like, yeah, if I ever went back to Detroit, I'd be dead.
Holy
right?
smokes.
And so anyway, a few months later, I saw the guy in his yard. He was crying. I thought it was kind of strange. I walked over and, I can't even remember the guy's name now. I think it might have been Jeff. But, what's up, Jeff? He told me how his grandmother died back in Detroit, but he can't go, because if he goes back, he'd be killed probably.
Mm-hmm.
And once again, they were there for a couple more years. And all of a sudden, one day, a couple black SUVs show up. Basically, they had 2 kids while they were living here. Now, they all walked out of the house with a suitcase, jumped in a couple black SUVs, and off they went. The house sat empty for a few months. And one day, a couple black SUVs pull in. And I got this guy and a lady jump out. And the guy, he looked like, he had hair down to his waist. Long gray hair down to his waist. He had like biker leather, leather pants. He looked like he had, some kind of a motorcycle club or something. He kind of looked like a biker. His wife, I spoke to her a few times. She I think she was from somewhere in South America. And once again, after a couple of years, I'm talking to these people. And this guy, he was same thing. He turned in Mr. Big. This guy was from New Jersey.
Wow.
And one thing that was interesting about him, when I saw him show up, like I said, he had hair down to his waist. He was in black leather. And the next time I saw him, he had cut all his hair off and dyed it blonde. So it's kind of interesting.
Changing his whole appearance around.
Yeah, he was changed his appearance.
Huh.
And just like the people who lived there previous to him, none of them ever came out in the day. None of them ever went to work. Even this family, they were here long enough to have 2 kids while they lived here. And, I count on one hand how many times I saw these kids over the course of 5 or 6 years. They just never left the house. If they did, they'd step out in the yard at night, But yeah, that's been one interesting thing about where I live here.
Yeah, that's strange. So I wonder if they just tell them, like, hey, you're going to have a 5-year contract at this house, and you just can't leave for like five years or so.
Yes, some of the people have been here for quite a while, and others not too long. I think it all depends on, what's going on, or who's looking for them, or
right,
something to that degree.
That sounds like a safe house until they get a permanent residence.
Well, some of these people, Sonny, were there for quite a while. The guy from Detroit, he was here for, I'm thinking about 7 years altogether. And the biker from New Jersey, he was here probably about the same amount of time. Well, it's quite a while,
You'd almost think that those would be on a list somewhere, like, okay, where are all the safe houses that we can check for our guy?
Yeah, well, like I said, when I was at that Hall of Records, there was, the lady was basically, well, I'm not supposed to tell you this, but,
right,
that house belongs to the federal government.
Yeah, so if she knows, and now I mean, it's got to be pretty easy for somebody that really wants to know.
You're probably right, Chad, because that's public information. I walked in there to, get a plot plan of my house. I could have got a plot plan of anyone's house, and I did. I got other plot plans when I was there.
Huh. Yeah, that's creepy.
Yeah, that's kind of weird.
Even when they say it's safe, it's like, yeah, but the lady that works at the plot place, she knows that you guys own it.
Yeah, but you're right. I think if you're really looking for someone, you could probably find them.
Yeah, I don't want to be on any list like that.
Nope.
For sure.
Yeah. So the 2 individuals I did meet. Whoop! I didn't hear you, Sonny. I talked on you.
I said, "Don't be telling on Mr. Big."
That's right.
Yeah. Well, like I said, the 2 individuals I both talked to were, they were both involved in drugs and basically, turned someone or something in to save themselves. They probably testified against somebody.
Right. Yeah. That's scary stuff.
Yeah, that was a pretty interesting guest, Sonny. You had, I guess it was probably about 3 or 4 weeks ago. I think it was a friend of your father's. I forget his name.
Chuck Long.
Long, yep.
And I was on there that night. We were talking about cars.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, God. Every time I think of the cars I used to own, I go, oh, no. If I had just kept them.
If you just kept them.
If I had just kept them. I had the 64 Chevelle. I had a first-year Mustang, which was, I think it was a 65. Of course, they were used when I bought them.
Uh-huh.
I had a 65 Mustang. It was a first-year Mustang. I bought it. I think I paid $500 for it. I sold it for $300. Guy come back about 6 months later, wanted his money back. He was having electrical issues with the car. I told him to go stick it,
Yeah, really.
But I think, I sold the 65 Mustang for $300.
Man.
I had the first year Firebird, the 67 Firebird.
Ooh. Firebird.
That car originally had a 6-cylinder overhead cam 250. And I put in a 283 Chevy motor in that with a 4-speed. That was a nice car. And then, of course, I had the 78 Firebird, and that was the Smokey and the Bandit edition.
Oh, sweet.
It was the same car from the movie. I seen one on auto auction on TV. The thing was going for like $80,000.
Yeah.
I was like, oh.
100 grand.
You had the exact same, like the same color and everything?
Oh, yeah, it was black with the big bird on the hood.
Oh, wow.
I forget, it's been a long time, Sonny. It was either a 455 or a 400. I can't remember. T-tops. 455, was it?
With a shaker.
Yeah.
Bobby had a 65 fastback.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I didn't have the fastback, but 71 Mustang. Yeah.
Nightmare had a 71 Mustang.
Yeah. One vehicle that I had that I really loved, and to this day I kick myself in the butt thinking that I sold it. I had a 1946 Willys Jeep CJ2A.
Oh, cool.
And that was the first year they made a civilian Jeep after the war.
Yep.
And I found that Jeep in a barn about 50 miles from my house. When I found it, it had 44,000 original miles on it. And I took it home, and I probably put about 20 hours into it. Had it running like a top. I love that Jeep. I don't know why I sold it, but I did. There was a time I just had too much stuff sitting around. I was trying to clean house a little.
Yeah.
Excuse me. And another truck that I love to death, I had a 78 Chevy K20. Four-wheel drive Chevy 78. I should have kept that one too.
78?
79.
Yeah.
Yeah, that 79 step side.
Yeah, those are good years for the Chevys. Yeah. Yeah, but that was an interesting night,
68 Camaro.
Mr. Crowley's got a 68 Camaro SS.
Wow, yeah.
He used to drive that to all the Bears games.
Dub Bears.
He's a big
Eddie,
Bears fan.
was I say Eddie from New York?
Yeah, that's Cassie Oracles wants to know if you're from New York. Nope.
New Hampshire.
New Hampshire.
It must be the accent, right?
Yeah, somebody said that you've got one of the best accents in radio. Or on,
spaghetti.
On podcasting. Spaghetti, yeah.
Yeah, he's fun. I love that guy. He's great.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's funny.
He's got a hell of an accent, too, for us.
Yeah, he does. He's got the New York thing going on there.
Mm-hmm. Geez, spooky. 64 Impala Super Sport, huh?
And I don't know if you have listened to any of his podcasts, but I haven't been listening to Spaghetti too long. I didn't know he had a podcast.
Yeah, he's pretty good with his questions. He's very good.
Yeah, he's very good podcast, but one guy he's got on there that's very interesting, and he's going to be on for the third time, is Pontificator.
Uh-huh.
The guy that uses the
voice changer, yeah.
The voice changer, right.
Mm-hmm.
But he's telling a really good abduction story, and he's already had 2 episodes, and he's going to be back on for a third one, so...
Well, I'll have to go check those. Well, I checked out the one. I think it must have been the first one that he was on, because I just heard it the other day. Yeah, I'll have to listen to the whole series with Pontificator.
Yeah, very interesting guy.
Yeah, he calls him Ponty. That's right.
Now, a lot of people, when they're abducted, they remember being abducted. They remember the next thing they don't remember the abduction itself. Pontificator remembers a lot of details about the abduction and the entities that abducted him. So that's what makes it interesting. As far as my abduction, basically, I had missing time where I didn't know what happened. And after the abduction, I had to go back and put things together and figure out what happened to me. But that's a story for another day.
Yeah, is that the story that has to do with black helicopters?
No, that was an incident when I was in the Air Force. My abduction story started, like I said, I met a lady, then I actually met her sister. They were twins. And one thing that was really bizarre about these ladies, their birthday was February 29, which is the leap day. It only happens once every 6 years. Oh,
wow.
Right?
February 29th.
And they were twin sisters, and they were beautiful. And they were involved in this, they confided in me. And as soon as I had found out some things, and things turned for the worse for me. But I really can't go into that today because it's just too long. But my abduction basically was, I had spent some time with these two ladies, and later that day I had saw a craft, and then later on that night I ran into a 4-foot owl on the side of the road, which I think was a cloaked alien or entity.
Mm-hmm.
And I had 2.25 hours missing time. And then some other bad things started to happen after that. But it wasn't pretty for me. My abduction was more like I was in the way, and they were trying to eliminate me or get me out of the picture. It wasn't something that I had that they wanted. It was I stumbled into something. They didn't want me in there. They didn't want me to know about this. And so they tried to take me out. And so when I do come back and talk about that, it's more about deception. It's more about, it isn't like there was something I had that the aliens or entities wanted.
Mm-hmm.
It was basically I was abducted to get me out of the picture.
Oh.
And, that's why a lot of people, they have these feelings of, they're going to come down and save us. They're going to fix all our nuclear plants, and, they're going to destroy all our weapons, and we'll live happily ever after. And I just cannot see that from my experience that, I see the deception side of it.
Mm-hmm.
When we talk about deception, too many people think, disclosure, they're going to come down and do something wonderful. You do hear these stories about people, they fixed my cancer, they fixed my heart issue.
Oh, yeah.
You do hear cases of niceness, but you also hear a lot of evil associated with abductions.
Right.
And, mine was more on the evil side. So, I'm very wary of deception.
Do you think those are two different species of ET, or do you think that they're the same, maybe just with different motives?
Yeah, my opinion, I think there's multiple species, multiple entities, and I think they have, multiple objectives.
Right.
Depending on the situation. But, you hear about different entities, and, as far as what I think, what's this? Just like humans, there are good and bad beings in the universe. Yeah, very good, Bobby. Yeah. But, deception. And a lot of people, they look at, the good side of aliens, like I said, they came down, fixed my cancer, whatever happened, I had a medical issue they fixed. I think even Josh's friend, the guy with the, all of a sudden I can't remember his name.
Oh, Chris Bledsoe?
Chris Bledsoe, right.
Mm-hmm.
I think he had a problem with Crohn's disease.
He did.
And I think he claimed that the aliens or the entities actually helped it or make it better, put it in remission.
Yeah, actually, after his abduction, he had no sign of it.
Yeah, there you go.
Cured of it.
Yeah, so I can't say they're all bad, but, when I look at, aliens, after what I was through, I look at the deception side of it.
Yeah.
And, when you're waging war, deception is your greatest weapon. And, it passes through history. A lot of people, when they think of the Roswell crash, that it was some type of an accident, what's to say the Roswell crash wasn't a Trojan horse?
Mm-hmm.
If anyone knows the story of the Trojan horse.
I do.
That was the Greeks, and they had a 10-year siege on the city of Trojan, and they just couldn't get through the walls. And so what they did, they constructed a horse, filled it with their soldiers, rolled it up to the gates of Trojan, basically said, "Oh, you beat us, you defeated us, we're leaving you this giant horse as a gift." And they got back in their boats and sailed away. And so the people of Trojan opened the gates and rolled in the horse. They had a big party like we did on New Year's. And when everyone fell asleep under the cover of darkness, the ship sailed back. They came out of the horse, opened the gates, and they took over the city of Trojan. But, I look at the Trojan horse aspect of Roswell.
Mm-hmm.
Who's to say they didn't just fill up a ship with antiquated technology, according to them, but highly advanced technology to us, just conveniently crashed it, 20, 30 miles from a military base, knowing full well that we would take this technology and there was a very good chance we'd use it to destroy ourselves in time. But you know what I'm saying? The Trojan horse theory.
Yeah, I never thought of it that way.
And the other thing you got to think about these crashes, okay? Now, Michael Schratt had a very interesting show on Third Phase of the Moon. This was, I think it was back, might have been early December, but he had all this documentation about crash saucers. And between 1941 and 54, there were 5 recoveries of saucers, and as many as 44 aliens were recovered. Most of them were dead. I think 2 or 3 of them were still alive. But Michael Schratt put on a real good show on Third Phase of the Moon. If you go back and find that.
I think he told that story on our show on Paranormal Chop Shop, Chad. It was the one where they took the spaceship back to that base and the guys were trying to get in it.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, guys, I remember that now. Yeah, it took me a minute. It does seem like it's been 2 years or something like that since he's been on here.
But, the point I'm bringing up about the 5 recoveries of saucers, the 44 alien bodies. Now, what do we do when our pilots crash, right? We recover the pilots. We make an attempt to recover the pilots.
Right.
As far as I know, no UFO crashes anyone ever came to try and recover the pilots. So it goes to show you that, maybe, it wasn't accidental. These crashes were intentional.
Mm-hmm.
And these pilots were expendable.
Yeah, I've thought about that a lot because, they say that these, when you talk to Josh, and Josh talks about his experience talking to Chris Bledsoe, and they talk about how they first come here as an orb, and then the orb can manifest into a physical craft or a human being looking person, entity, or any, it can be a school bus if it wanted to.
Yeah.
But so if it can do all that and transform when it gets here, the crashes would have to be intentional, because they're already an orb or like a light being when they get here, and then they have to manifest into something that would crash into the ground.
Yeah.
So it seems like that would all be intentional.
Yeah. From my personal experience, I think they can cloak themselves, and like you said, they can change shape. They can make you see what you want to see.
Mm-hmm.
And I think when I saw that owl on the side of the road, when I saw something else later, and when I saw the craft, I think they showed me exactly what I wanted to see. And on that note, if you want to, I will mention about my time in the Air Force in black helicopters over the nuclear facility.
That'd be great.
And this is where my first experience of they want you to see, they're letting you see what you want to see, kind of. They're instilling the thought in your head.
Mm-hmm.
First of all, I don't like really to, I was in the Air Force. I really don't like to talk about the Air Force. I had a top secret security clearance, but a lot of what I'm going to mention now is, this is known information. You can go on Wikipedia. You can look up the base that I was stationed at in Maine. And they had an incident in 1975 up there where the base radar picked up a craft coming in very fast from the ocean, straight to the base. It flew right into the nuclear storage area and started hovering like a helicopter would hover. And this was 1975. It's documented on Wikipedia, but there were other instances that happened. But I actually roomed with a guy who was there when that happened. And what he told me he saw was a black helicopter over the nuclear storage facility. And basically, I think, that's what they wanted him to see. Mm-hmm. And that's why he saw a black helicopter. And once again, now it was a few years later, and if you remember the story I told you about the two large snapping turtles, the guy from Texas, I was with that guy from Texas and another guy who was from New York, and we were leaving for the day, and all of a sudden we looked over the storage facility. I saw 5 black helicopters over the storage facility. But the thing was, a few minutes later, I found myself staring up at an empty sky. And I had no recollection. It was a few hours later when I had got back to the barracks that I actually, I retraced my footsteps. It was like strange, like we were almost not paralyzed, but like our thoughts were altered. So we didn't, we saw it. We saw what they wanted us to see. Mm-hmm. And at first, I remember I was driving me and these 2 other guys back to the barracks. And, we had we all saw it, but we didn't have the recollection until a few hours later when I went and knocked on one of the guys' doors and I said, hey, I was thinking about earlier this afternoon, because nothing flies over the nuclear storage facility. You know what I'm saying? But we had no sense of urgency when we saw this. And, hours later, we pieced it all back together. One guy, the guy from New York, he remembers seeing nothing, but he remembers standing staring at the sky.
Really?
The guy from Texas remembered seeing 3 black helicopters, where I saw 5. But we didn't all put it together until later. It was a few hours later. And we had some strange symptoms right after that, too. When we left that day, it was actually a Friday. And the 3 of us had plans to go fishing, up in Maine. It was during the summer. And all of a sudden, all 3 of us, we didn't feel well. I never get headaches. I had a headache. My 2 friends had a headache. And we all just went back to our dorms instead of going, taking our fishing trip that we had already planned for about a week. And then, there was a few hours later that, I was sitting in my room just basically staring at the wall because I just didn't feel myself,
That's weird. Almost like you had all your energy pulled out of
in a way, yeah, in a way. But, once again, I think these entities, they have the ability to, you see what they want you to see. Mm-hmm. I'm completely convinced that was some kind of an alien craft over that storage facility. But, they wanted me to see black helicopters. And, there was an Air Force base. We didn't have any helicopters. No black helicopters at that base.
Mm-hmm. They didn't do their research. And what kind of aircraft do we have here?
Well, just like in 1975, when the one that's documented on Wikipedia, the people who did witness it saw a black helicopter. And, once again, cloaking themselves over the storage area.
The one guy that you said just remembers looking up at the sky and staring at the sky, that's a pretty interesting point.
Yeah. He didn't have no recollection of seeing a helicopter where the other 2 of us did.
So,
you know.
does he have an excuse or like an explanation as to why he was looking up at the sky, or was he just looking because you guys were?
Yeah, you see, that was the strange part about it. We all found ourselves like when here I am. I remember my last thing I remembered was seeing these helicopters, and then the next thing I remembered, I'm just staring at a blank sky. And there was a little time between. It might have been a 20-minute interval. But, once we left the area, we just had no recollection of it until a few hours later. It was kind of a strange thing where they altered our thoughts.
Huh.
But, why? Why are these? But it's very common. Just about every nuclear base has had some kind of an instance. The missile silos, even the SAC bases like I was at, Strategic Air Command. They've all, for some reason, they're very interested in our nuclear weapons.
Did you happen to share your story with anyone else that worked there?
Well, I shared my story with the two guys I was with. And there might have been one or two other guys I talked about it. And like I said, the guy, I was rooming with a guy for a while, and he was there in 75 and actually saw the one that was documented on Wikipedia. And what he saw was a black helicopter.
Strange.
So, I think, like we said, I think they can actually make you see what you want to see. But, the power of deception, but, I just have this, I don't know, like I said, the Trojan horse theory, I just can't see the good. A lot of people can see the goodness in aliens or entities, and I kind of the other way around. I mean, the history of warfare has always been about deception.
That's true.
Going right back to the Trojan horse. I mean, some of the greatest military things in the world have all been based on deception. D-Day during World War II, they had fake tanks that were actually inflated on another part of England. So the German aerial reconnaissance would see all these tanks in the northern part of England. So they thought the invasion was going to be someplace else. They had all kinds of trucks and equipment. They were all, just fake. They were, like blow up tanks and blow up trucks. And
I've seen videos of that where they were planting the tanks, and there's like 4 people carrying that tank.
Really?
Yeah, they pick up a tank and carry it, right?
Yeah, it's like 4 people. Yeah, it's really a blow-up tank.
Yeah, and what they did, Sonny, up in the northern part of England, I don't know all the details, but they had fields and fields full of tanks and airplanes, and they had all kinds of fake radio communications to make the Germans think, this was the staging area up here, instead of down the southern part where they actually crossed into France, into Normandy. But, that's deception. That's, almost everything in war is about deception. And one other example was Alamein, which was in the British were fighting the Germans in Africa. And they were prepared. The British were preparing an invasion against Rommel, the German commander there. And the Germans went as far as building a fake pipeline, a water pipeline, going in the opposite direction. And the Germans actually thought they were going somewhere else, built up their troops there, and then they attacked somewhere else. And then once again, even when once they had taken over North Africa, the next step was Italy. And everyone pretty much figured that Sicily was going to be the landing point. And they actually had a submarine drop off they had a cadaver. And they had a submarine throw this cadaver out with a briefcase handcuffed to his wrist. And they dumped him in an area where they knew he would be found by like German conspirators,
Mm-hmm.
And in the briefcase was all kinds of battle plans and things. showing a fake invasion somewhere else in Italy. And the Germans and the Italians moved quite a bit of troops out of Sicily because of that. And then that's what they did. They landed in Sicily, so it's all, and just another thing, even D-Day, one thing they did right before D-Day was, I forget the name of the operation, but they actually threw out dummy paratroopers.
Who was that again?
Dummy paratroopers.
Was that the Japanese?
No, the United States.
Oh.
What they did before the D-Day invasion, they wanted the Germans to pull some of the troops away from the invasion spot. So 50 miles behind enemy lines, they had dummies that were dressed up like paratroopers, and they had incendiary devices attached to them. And they threw hundreds of these out of the plane. And so they come down and then they light things on fire. And they'd also burn up the evidence of the dummy. They were designed that way. And so what happened was the Germans pulled a lot of troops away from Omaha Beach. And then shortly after that, they invaded Omaha Beach. Was one of the landing spots. But, the power of deception, and every time I think of, the alien crashes, I go, well, they don't recover their pilots, and who's to say, the Trojan horse theory is what I call it.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a good theory, because I can't think of why else they would purposely be doing that unless it was to help us out. But we've heard from other people, too, that they have, in the past, they've tried helping. They've tried getting in the middle and helping out by giving some technology, and it didn't go so well. So this time, they're just like, hey, we'll try to lead you down the path, but it's up to you guys to make the right decisions. And
we definitely took that technology from those sources and rode with it, because 1945, we're flying around planes with propellers. 24 years later, we're going to the moon on a rocket ship, and
that's true.
It was too much too fast, and man didn't create all that. They got that definitely from something, But who's to say they didn't give us that technology to destroy ourselves with it?
Right.
And sometimes you look at what we have today and you say, well, yeah, technology is good, but there's a lot of evil too, when it comes to technology. One thing technology has done, it has almost eliminated petty crime, small crimes, because everyone's got cameras now. It's almost impossible for some guy to, come to your house and steal the tires off your car or something to that, But what has it done, though? It's opened up white-collar crime, where some guy can be sitting at his breakfast table eating sausages and bacon, push a couple buttons and steal $1 million. You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah, just a couple of buttons. Yep.
Yeah, because that's what technology has given us. And the other thing about technology, as far as the government is concerned, every time they get a piece of technology is, how can we weaponize this? And basically they think of making a weapon first before they think of anything to help man.
Yeah, that's true. Everything that gets invented, a lot of things that we see in, in the civilian market was worked on first in the military side of things. Invented there and perfected, and then now we buy it. Like the space pen, that was a, what was it called? Yeah, the Fisher space pen. That was like a contracted, engineered thing that NASA put out a need for, and then companies worked on it until they came up with that design. I don't know why that's the only thing I can think of right now, but there's been a lot of things that have been engineered and worked on by the government, paid for by the government.
I don't know if it was made by the government, but what about Tang? Wasn't that a
Tang?
Wasn't that a NASA drink?
Yeah,
Tang.
It was. Right. That was one of the first foods or drinks designed to go into outer space. That's back when they first started like freeze drying food and whatever that process is to preserve it so it can have a shelf life. you know.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, the whole space program, I mean, you go back into the 50s, the 60s, a television had big giant tubes in it, you know.
Oh, I know. Yeah, it's crazy how much stuff's changed.
Excuse me. And, within a few years, we had little circuit boards and solid state circuitry, and that's the only reason we got to the moon. But, it had to come from those sources, I'd have to say.
I was just sent a picture by Tony in the chat, Mr. Crowley. He sent me this. He said he just took a picture of some black helicopters not too long ago, he said.
There you go. Yeah.
Yeah, so now we don't know if those are really helicopters.
Whenever I see helicopters, believe me, I go, is that what they want me to see? That's the first thought that comes into my head. And the ironic part about that, Chad, is my nephew, he was a career Army guy. He just retired a couple of years ago. He flew helicopters for, I think, 24 years altogether in the Army. And, he retired, career guy. He just retired about a year ago. And now he does medevac helicopters. He lives down in Kentucky. But it's funny because, here I got a nephew, who knows everything in the world about helicopters. I know nothing about a helicopter. I wouldn't know the first thing about a helicopter or the different types. But, my only experiences with helicopters are strange.
Yeah.
But, I got to hand it to my little nephew there. He was quite the kid. He was a kid. He got himself in a lot of trouble. He was just young. He was like 16. He got a girl pregnant. And, life wasn't going too good for this kid. And he ended up joining the Army. And he started off as a helicopter mechanic. He worked his way right up through the chain. And by the time he left, he was the guy who, controlled whatever they call the flight of the group of helicopters, battalion commander or whatever he was. I can't remember what his rank was, but he was the guy who, he was telling 10 helicopters what to do. So he worked his way up from scratch. I forget what his rank was, but altogether he spent 24 years. And the other thing about him, he went in right when Iraq, the war of Iraq started. Mm-hmm. And he was overseas all the time. He probably had 5 or 6 tours of duty in Iraq and probably 5 or 6 tours of duty in Afghanistan. He saw the worst of it. And very fortunate and didn't lose him. One thing about helicopter pilots, believe it or not, in the Vietnam War, the life expectancy of a helicopter crew was 2 months.
The life expectancy?
Life expectancy of a helicopter crew was 2 months.
Jeez,
imagine that.
Yeah, that's... Huh. Yeah, I didn't know if you meant the helicopter itself or the crew.
The crew. Because what would happen, they were always doing reconnaissance and, hit and run missions and things like this, picking up wounded. Mm-hmm. And, they were always in close fire and, they were losing helicopters all the time. I actually had a girlfriend when I was young, and her brother was a POW. He was on a helicopter crew in Vietnam, and he was taken prisoner. They were shot down. And he told me some horrific stories. At one point, he spent almost 2 years of his life in a river in a bamboo cage.
What?
Yeah. They weren't very kind to, the U.S. prisoners.
In a river? So, the cage was in the river?
The cage was in the river. I don't know if you ever saw The Deer Hunter, the movie The Deer Hunter. Mm-hmm. But in that movie, they actually had guys in bamboo cages in a river. And, he told me this, and then years later, The Deer Hunter come out. And I saw the guys in the cage in the river and, saying to myself, oh, my God, what he must have went through. But the stories he told me, first of all, when he got home from Vietnam, he never worked again. his life was just shot. He was just mentally incapacitated after what he went through. And he would tell me that the only reason he lived, he was 6'6", and he was huge compared to these little Vietnamese guys.
Mm-hmm.
And they actually gave him a little extra respect because of his size. And he says if it wasn't for my, larger mass, I probably wouldn't have lived through it. But, he told me stories about being in that cage. And, night after night, day after day. And anything they could get their hands on, they would eat. If something was swimming in the water, a bug, a rat, that's how bad it was.
That sounds terrible. That was for 2 years?
2 years he was in that cage, and then finally he got taken from there into like another place, which was like a building. And he spent a couple more years in a building. They used to beat the crap out of him. And then finally, the war ended. I think it was 1972.
Uh-huh.
And I met this girl, let me think, it was probably about 1975. I met her brother. It was a tragedy, but that's war.
That's war, I guess.
Yeah, that's war. It's awful.
It's amazing how much of it is in our past. There's a lot of it.
Yeah, well, you think there's some of the atrocities that those POWs went through, and they used to take beatings almost daily. They didn't get food fed. The Red Cross would send them supplies, and they'd never get them. So it was a pretty tragic situation.
Yeah, it is.
But yeah, just to bring up a helicopter, he was actually a gunner on a helicopter.
Oh, okay.
And he was shot down. It was like some kind of it was either like a recon mission or they were picking up wounded or something. But the helicopter got shot down. They were captured.
Where were they captured at?
Well, this was in Vietnam. I don't know.
In Vietnam. Okay.
Yeah, I don't know exactly, what part of Vietnam he was in. I assume he was probably somewhere around the North-South Vietnam border, most likely.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, the stories of him being in that cage were horrific.
Yeah, I didn't even know that was a thing. It's amazing.
Oh, gosh. Yeah.
Huh.
Yeah.
Well, that's a shame.
Yeah.
Have you, I was trying to think of like an uplifting question I could ask you about your childhood or something. Let's get the mood changed a little bit. You said you've always lived in the same area?
Yeah, I basically have lived in the same area my whole life. I did live in Maine for a while. I lived in Texas for a while. I lived in Colorado for a little while. But Texas, for the most part, I've always been, right up here in New England.
Well, Texas was a pretty big change of pace. What were you up to down there, except for business?
It was schooling. Yeah,
okay.
It was when I was in the military. I had to go to Texas and Colorado for some schooling a couple times. And,
I'm sure that was a little hard to get used to that. I mean, that's a big difference from where you're at now and Texas.
Well, it's funny, Chad, because when I actually joined the service, I mentioned one time I come from a long career in Navy guys. And I had a friend, and, we enlisted right in high school.
Mm-hmm.
And my friend, he couldn't pass the Navy physical. Oh, Sonny's leaving. But
I'll be right back, man.
Okay. My friend.
My daughter's up for school. That's all.
Oh, okay. No problem,
buddy. We were going to both go in the Navy together, like the buddy system. I come from a long line of Navy guys.
Yeah.
But my friend, he had a physical issue, and he had a deformity in his hips, and he couldn't pass the Navy physical, but he could pass the Air Force physical. So by being a good friend, we both dropped it and decided to join the Air Force instead.
Okay.
And the funny thing about when you join the Air Force, right? They give you at one point, I forget what part of, if it was in school or if it was basic training or whatever, they give you a list of like all these places you might want to be stationed.
Mm-hmm.
It was called the wish list. And of course, I joined the service to see the world. I wanted to get out. I wanted to feel my oats. I wanted to get away from New England.
Yeah.
And so I'm putting down all these places like, Japan, Guam, Hawaii,
Yeah.
Florida, California, any place warm,
Yeah.
And I went through school and I get my orders to report, and I'm stationed in Maine. And I said, oh, Jesus. I said, but know what it was? They probably saw that, I was from the area. And they probably said, well, this guy can deal with it, because a lot of people can't.
Right, the cold.
Yeah, not only the cold, but very remote, where that base in Maine was right on the Canadian border at the very top of Maine. It's Limestone, Caribou, Maine. The name of the base was Loring Air Force Base. It's closed now, but it was very, very remote. And I may have mentioned this one other time, but I think there was 5,500 guys at the base. There was 13 girls. And so, yeah.
See where you're going there.
So when you're in your 20s, it really wasn't the place you wanted to be.
Yeah, exactly. 13 girls.
13, and they had a date every night, Chad.
I'm sure they were pretty busy.
And I'll tell you what, they're the ugliest 13 girls you'd ever want to see.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
Well, damn.
Yeah. There was one of them that wasn't too bad, but... But yeah, that's the way it was.
That's just the way it went at the time.
There's Josh thanking me for yesterday. Yeah, that was a good show, Josh.
Yeah, Josh is really taking off. He's doing pretty good with his podcast over there. Trippy Times Podcast on YouTube.
Yeah, I seen it pop up. And so I said, well, I'll jump on, give Josh a little support there.
Yeah. Yeah, he was doing really well.
Yeah, we're all the same family here, so we got to support each other.
That's right. It's really cool to go into a chat. Like I was invited, Cassie invited me into a chat the other day, a live stream that I'd never been in before. I wasn't subscribed to it. And I said hello in the chat, and everyone, like half the chat, knew who I was. They're all, hey, Chad, and I knew everyone, and I knew most of the people that were saying hi, and it's amazing how we all kind of follow each other to different channels.
Yeah, it's a good thing. It's a good thing. It's a family,
Yeah.
Let me see.
More than I've been on YouTube for a long time, not broadcasting on it or anything or uploading to it, but just watching a lot of podcasts over the years, and I've just never been a part of a community like this where everyone is so tightly held together and interested in all the same things. And even when you talk to somebody about a movie they saw, the movie usually has something to do with what we're talking about on a daily basis. So I don't know, it's just interesting. It's almost like we're all supposed to be doing this.
Yeah, and the other thing, like I've said this before, is just there's no answers to any of this. No one can come right out and say they're from under the ocean, Hollow Earth, other planets. No one has ever been able to put their finger on anything, and anyone's opinion is just as good as anyone else's.
What about DJ right here, who says he's not a fan of Sonny's hat?
Sonny's hat says it looks like a Cleveland Indians.
No, that's Chicago Bears.
Oh, Chicago Bears. Okay.
It's the Bears.
The
Bears.
Yeah, I remember that one.
Bears.
Bad year for the Bears. They didn't do too good.
No.
In fact, they fired the coach, I think.
I think so.
I think they did. Yeah, I think they fired the general manager with them.
Oh, that's why you're wearing the hat. That's why you're wearing the hat. You're trying to get seen, and maybe you'll get hired on the staff.
Yeah.
Dub Bears.
You follow football at all, Chad?
I don't. No.
Okay, I was going to say poor Detroit Lions, right? Oh my God.
I didn't hear. I did definitely heard that they didn't do too great this year.
No,
but
they haven't done. They've never done great. Well, maybe back in the '60s.
Maybe once.
But they're one of the few teams not to win a Super Bowl. What about you, Sonny? Any other teams to win a Super Bowl besides Detroit? That might be it. The Bears. I don't think the. Oh yeah, the Bears won. Yeah, they beat us. They beat the Patriots.
Yep.
Yeah, I think Detroit's the only team that's never won a Super Bowl.
Meh.
By like 7-46, they beat the Patriots in the Super Bowl.
Wow.
Oh no, who hasn't won a Super Bowl is the Cleveland Browns.
Oh yeah.
Yep.
They've never won a Super Bowl.
Thin Lizzie Borden says football is for the devil.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
You going to play that foosball, Bobby?
Yeah.
Foosball for the devil.
Foosball for the devil.
Yeah.
So are them women.
I like the foosball. And she showed me movies, and I like those too.
I like those too.
Oh, we were very lucky up here in New England for 20 years. You know, we had Tom Brady for 20 years, you know. And Tampa took him away. But, you know, I would have gave that guy a black check, you know.
Brady's from Michigan, I believe, wasn't he?
He lived in California, but he played for Michigan, yeah. And, he was, when he was drafted, way down the list, he was down around number 200 or something. You know, he wasn't
amazing.
I mean, he had flashes of brightness, but he wasn't even a starter in college. They had some other guy starting at Michigan.
Wow.
And he was actually the backup for most of the time he was there.
Weird.
But one thing you can't measure in an athlete, and that's heart, you know. You know, some guys jump higher, run faster, but, you know, when it comes right down to it, you know, it's what you got inside that counts.
That's right.
You know,
if they had a man like Josh Casey on the team, somebody that always is ready with a football in his hand.
Yeah, Josh always comes up with the football.
If we can't find it, go find Josh. He's probably got your damn football.
Yeah. One other thing I'd like to bring up, you know, is something that aggravates and annoys me to no end is you know, man trying to play God, so to speak, you know. And, you know, this is going to be our downfall, you know, artificial intelligence. You know, we have to put the reins, you know, we have to have control of that because it'll just run wild, you know. And this is, you know, I'm an old man, but, you know, the generations, you know, your generation, Chad, you know, your kids' generation, they got work ahead of them like you wouldn't believe, because even though we have this technology, someone has to hold the reins and control it, because artificial intelligence could get out of control real fast. And, you know, anytime you have a man trying to play God, you know, that's when problems start.
Yeah.
And, you know, the crash source of technology, that's where it's led us. It's led us to men playing God. And this is the danger. And like I said one other time to you, on my tombstone, it shall read, man is choking on his own technology, which means man's downfall is going to be his own technology. Man will kill himself. He ain't going to need anybody else.
Right.
And another thing I'd like to just say is, you know, the CERN, you know, the Hadron Collider over in Europe, is, you know, what are they thinking? You know, what are these guys thinking? You know, in the name of science, these guys don't have a clue what they're doing. You know, they're creating black matter, antimatter.
Right.
You know, why? They don't even know why they're doing this. They want to play God.
Just to see if they can do it, I guess.
Just to see if they can do it, right? Like, I don't know, you're familiar with Neil deGrasse Tyson.
Yep.
Right?
Yep.
This is a direct quote from him. If someone wanted to destroy the planet, this would be a good way to do it. And he was talking about the, you know, the CERN collider there.
Really?
What do they call it? The Hadron Collider?
Yeah.
Yeah. But there's some strange things about the CERN collider. I don't know if you guys know any of familiar with it. I'm not too familiar with it, but I have picked up on a few things. And their logo, the CERN logo, incorporates the number 666. If you look up the CERN logo, you will find the number 666 in there. And also, the name CERN is a contraction for the word Cernunnos, who is the god of the underworld. Okay? Now, in front of CERN, their headquarters over there, they have a statue of a Hindu god named Shiva. There's a big statue right in front of the CERN.
Mm-hmm.
The Hindu god Shiva is known as the destroyer of worlds. Why the hell would you put a statue of that there?
I have no idea.
Okay. Another thing about CERN, it's built on Roman ruins. And they knew this when they built it. It's built on the ancient temple of Apollo.
Oh, yeah, there is 3 6s.
There's definitely some 6s in there.
See, there's 3 6s.
Yeah, why would you even do that?
Isn't that screwed up?
Mm-hmm.
But they actually built it on the temple of Apollo. And in Roman history, Apollo is most often associated with destruction.
Oh, jeez. They don't have a whole lot of good things going for it.
Yeah, but, those are just some of the things that I happen to stumble across about CERN, And, once again, man playing God is what they're trying to do here. And there's no logical explanation for this except to screw things up. But, they open in portholes, stargates, interdimensionals, letting them in, letting them out. Who knows what's going on. But they're certainly not going to tell us what's going on. Have
you looked into the Denver International Airport?
Yeah, that's pretty weird.
All the weird things that are going on over there.
Yeah, that's like CERN. You can make a list of all these weird things at the airport, statues and paintings.
Yeah, that painting that has all the destruction and looks like the world's coming to an end and really weird stuff.
Yeah, I do remember a show about that, but I can't recall all of it. And there's something about a statue of a horse.
Yep. There's a big horse outside. Big horse. Denver.
And I can't remember all the details. But yeah, that's CERN, but all I can say is, the future generations, they get their hands cut out for them because, like I said, technology can go in 2 directions. And, I was a person, I saw life without technology and I see technology. And has it made life better? Has it made life simpler? No, it hasn't. It's made life more confusing and more dangerous.
Yeah.
Hey, Spooky.
That's Spooky Morales.
Hey, how you doing, bud?
I'm doing very good. How you doing, man?
I'm hanging in there.
I love the stories this morning.
Oh, were you listening?
Oh, of course. I just had to wake up a little bit.
Yeah. I still get the story of my abduction, but like I told Chad, I couldn't fit it in today. I'd have to take another day to do that.
Oh, yeah. Only when the time's right.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. It was just too much to cover today. I just wouldn't be able to get it all in.
Yeah.
That's probably a show in itself.
We're not going anywhere, so you can always come on anytime you want.
Yeah. Yep. Thank you, Chad.
DJ says all the bigwigs around the world own property around the Denver airport as well.
Yeah, there's something strange going on there.
Yeah, this is the horse that's outside.
Oh, yeah, look at that.
Look at how wild that is.
Talk about a red evil eye, right?
Yep, just outside by itself. That's strange.
And it's supposed to signify something. I'm not too sure what. Someone probably knows.
I didn't know if these were veins or what. Oh, these things.
Oh, yeah, that might be veins.
It looks like its face is all stressed out, and it's just such a something strange to have at an airport.
Yeah, it just doesn't look friendly to me.
No, it does not look friendly or welcoming.
No.
Fly out of here. No thanks. You guys got to get some more welcoming things, especially that painting. I'll see if I can pull that painting up because Denver International Airport. Yeah, it's a strange one. Especially if you're trying to board a plane like me, I don't want to get. That's the last thing I want to do is get on an airplane. If I was walking through a airport and saw this painting,
Devil horse killed the man
who made it.
Oh, even better.
I don't know the story of that. I wonder if anyone here does.
Yeah, here's that.
No.
Weird.
This painting.
Where's the one part that's real strange? Oh. Let me see. No, that's not it either. This must be a different painting. I don't see the part that I'm looking for. There's one that there's like a Nazi with a sword.
Huh.
It's really strange.
I don't see anything in that one, but it is a strange place. I've heard there's a lot of underground stuff going on under there or something.
Yeah, and the fact that the building itself, like the whole area, is way larger than it's supposed to be, or way larger than it needs to be. For the amount of traffic that comes in and out of there.
Chad, I gotta step out just for a minute. Okay. Just run to the bathroom. I'll be right back.
Yeah, no problem.
Okay, just a couple minutes.
Okay, see you in a second. What's up, Spooky?
Oh, just having my, what is this, like number 4?
Oh, you've been drinking a lot of coffee?
I have to wake up.
I was going to grab one, but every time I do that and I get off the podcast, I have a really hard time sleeping. So I'm going to try just water today.
Oh, good.
Bree and Jamie.
Water.
Hey, we need a Bree update. I want to know how Bree's doing.
I was thinking about her too.
Look at these fine ass men, you know? That
She sure knows how to flatter.
That gets our confidence up right there. We're just up here doing the best we can, you know? Doing the best we can. The painting is all children. It's about starting a new world order. Oh. Yeah, see, it's so strange to find something like that at an airport.
Look at her answer.
The guy you've seen with that you thought was a Nazi in the painting, was he a Nazi or did he have the symbol on him?
He had the symbol on him, and he was wearing like a red robe.
That's wrong, Jamie.
Bree's dead. Haven't heard from her in over 12 hours.
You.
Oh, okay. Jeez.
She's not.
Good Lord. Oh no, not that Bree. We've got one Bree in the chat. We just need the other Bree. How many Brees can we get in here?
Need a Bree fix.
Need a couple Brees in the chat. Yep, lots of Brees. Hey, what's up, Lee? Dude, you had a really cool show over the weekend, and thanks for blessing us with your music.
Oh, it was so much fun.
Yeah, if you guys haven't, I'm sure everyone in here knows of First Floor Audio, but if you don't, go check out First Floor Audio on YouTube. He's got some good music. Hey, Eddie.
Okay, I'm back.
I was wondering if you could unmute your mic or not, since I was.
I saw the button there.
Cool.
I'm not very good with this technology.
Oh no, you're doing great. Nope, you're doing just fine.
Yeah, so unfortunately, boys, we're on the doorstep of God knows what when it comes to technology. Like we're at the doorstep of artificial intelligence, and I don't think man is responsible enough to deal with it right now. Because it can turn just as evil as it can for good, and so much technology, it's directed towards evil. But, take artificial intelligence for one example. It all depends on who's writing the programs, right? And they could try and do something very innocent and it could turn into a catastrophe. Like what if something is written into a program that says, under no circumstances can a robot, hurt a human or kill a human or destroy a human.
First law of robotics.
The human must be protected, right?
Yeah.
So what will the robot do? He might take a human, put him in a box, and keep him there, right? So nothing can hurt him.
He's safe.
He's safe. He's in a box. He could imprison mankind.
That's true.
So it could be something very simple like that.
I mean, it could even be just as simple as just hacking into the mainframe and shutting down an entire. Like, can you imagine if it just shut down Google for a week?
Oh, yeah.
My phone just lit up. That's so scary. Quit listening to me.
But, what I see with technology, I don't know. I mean, like I said, I'm old enough, I've seen both sides. But I just look back in time and I say to myself, you could go without electricity for 2-3 weeks in the 60s or 70s. It was no big deal.
Oh yeah.
Today you go without electricity for 10-15 minutes. People in panic mode.
Oh, yep.
And so technology really hasn't made us. Really hasn't really done a whole bunch as far as it's made us vulnerable more than anything.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, as funny as it is, I was thinking about that when I was carrying groceries from the grocery store to the truck the other day, and it was like 10 degrees outside and windy and nasty. I'm like, man, I'm having a hard time just walking from the store to my truck, not even a horse and buggy, to my enclosed truck, heated. It's just, I'm having a hard time just walking from the store to the truck. And, how much, it hasn't even been that much time since we went from where we're at now to just living outside in a mud hut or something.
Yeah, like I said, with all this technology, man has really become vulnerable. And, one EMP away from the Stone Age, electromagnetic pulse. You could get an electromagnetic pulse from the sun, a solar flare, and you could fry all the whole grid. And thousands, millions of people would die.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
But we're just so dependent on technology now. I mean, you go back in the day, as far as I'm concerned, I spent 35 years driving trucks. And, never had a GPS in those 35 years. I never saw a GPS until, I finished my trucking career. But today, I mean, people, they use their phone for everything, for directions. I mean, realistically, if the grid went down, people wouldn't even know where to go or how to get there.
Yeah.
All the maps have been thrown away.
Yep.
Used to pull out a road map, That's how it used to be. Now you just, push a button on your phone. But, you take that away now. People have become so dependent on this stuff. You take it away and we're doomed.
Eddie, now you've got kids that are getting raised up by parents that they only get their groceries from ordering them on their phones. So now there's kids that all they know is that they just ride in the car with their parents to a building, someone else puts groceries in, and then they just go home with groceries.
Yeah. Yeah.
Some people might not have ever stepped foot in a store with this pandemic going on for more than, if it goes on for another 5 years, there's going to be 5-year-olds walking, that have never stepped foot in a grocery store to get groceries.
Yeah. Well, even though we have all this social media, you don't see social interaction anymore like you did, back in the day.
Mm-hmm.
For instance, kids would get out of school. Every ballpark was filled with kids. Mm-hmm. The streets were filled with kids on bicycles. Everyone was out in the streets and socializing. And today, how do they socialize? They each sit on a computer and they're playing a video game with their friends and never leave the house.
Yeah.
I see that in my own grandson. He sits there and he plays games with his friends after school, and they're all at their own house and they got their headphones on, they're talking to each other. And,
yeah.
Whereas, in my day, we'd all be out in the street with a hockey stick, playing
outside.
Basketball or something, whatever sport it was,
Yep. Like I said on the last one, I was always outside building forts and ground blinds, and I was always outside in the woods with my friends.
Yeah.
I don't remember being in the house ever when I was a kid.
We were always outside. The only time you're inside if it's like a rainy day.
Mm-hmm.
That was the only time we were ever in. But, you got to take the good and bad with technology, and I sure can't change it. And I don't think any of us can. We're on a one-way trip down a highway, and, like I said, I think the generations ahead of me here, we got a tough road to hoe here,
That's
as
right.
far as controlling this. What becomes scary to me right now is, how like Elon Musk talking about like plugging your brain
Yeah.
in, take college, 4 years of college in 5 minutes, downloaded into your brain, right? But what happens here is now, once you get a phone jack on the back of your head, I don't think you're a human. You've crossed over.
Yeah.
You're now pop machine.
Yep.
And
I almost feel like we're there already with these phones so attached to us. I mean, they're not embedded into our bodies, but most people, if they go 20 feet away from their phones, there's like an alarm that goes off in their head, like, you don't have your phone with you. I mean, I know people that'll turn back around and they'll be late for work just if they forgot their phone at the house.
Oh yeah.
So we're kind of there already, but yeah, he's wanting to put it so it's directly, you can just think of the Encyclopedia Britannica, and next thing you know, you got her downloaded.
Yeah, I think that's the crossing point where there's no turning back. I don't think you consider yourself human. Once you start plugging in your head.
Yeah, I don't think so.
That's Scary Gary.
That is Scary Gary. How'd you know that?
I've seen him. We've seen him on a couple of the podcasts. He's got a great beard.
Yes, he does.
Oh, that's a picture of the Denver airport, right?
Yeah, apparently this has been covered up since so many people draw attention to it. But yeah, look at how creepy this is with this dude in a gas mask, holding a sword with kids that look scared. Yeah, Scary Gary over here.
That is a creepy picture, man.
Yeah, it's strange. Like, why? Who? Imagine painting that and going, "Yep, I'm painting this for the airport." It's really weird.
It's crazy, man.
It's a weird one.
Yeah, I don't think at any point in time I'm going to plug something into my head.
Yeah, the only thing I'm looking forward to that, because I know that's definitely going to be used for the wrong reasons, and it's only going to last a little while before someone uses it for the wrong reasons. But I heard from Elon that the first 4 to 5 years or so, it's only going to be used, like, you have to have the only way that you can be eligible for it is if you have either a debilitating disease that causes you to not, say you're paralyzed from the neck down or something and you can't move. Supposedly this thing is going to be able to fix things like that. It's like basic connections in your brain that have been broken before and we haven't been able to fix. So, if it fixes people that are already terminal and they're already on their way out, maybe, and it gives them another 5, 10, 15 years to go, or gives somebody the freedom to move again, it'd be cool to see that be used for that. But I agree with you, if it's out there for long enough, someone's going to get a hold of it and use it for reasons that really shouldn't be used for.
Yeah, once again, like I said, a lot of times about technology, weaponizing is thought of first, and then the good of man second. And the other thing is, people have this opinion that, we have to do it because we know the Russians are doing it. We have to do it because, the Chinese are doing it,
Yeah.
And so this pushes the weapon side of all technology.
That's true.
Yeah. And one thing about the Chinese, I remember it was somewhere back in the 80s, and there was some conversation about super soldiers, and they had a pig with human blood in it, and this was back in the 80s. And so this was, research to build super soldiers. So you wonder, where has this technology been? 30, 40 years later, God knows, what they have.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes it crosses my mind, when you think of a Bigfoot, was this something that escaped from a military installation, super soldier research? Not that I really think that's the most popular opinion, but it's a possibility.
It's
even
definitely
the
a possibility.
Mothman, right? The Mothman, was some of these things genetically manipulated by the government, in quest of a super soldier?
Yeah, especially if they haven't been seen that often like that. I think it was the Mothman that was only seen for like a year or two window. Or maybe
Spooky's laughing. What's he?
Spooky, what are you laughing about? Oh, Tide Pods?
This Mr. Crowley, man. This guy.
Oh, it's Mr. Crow. I can't find the pics of the black copters.
He said, I thought Ben and Joe were going to have babies.
Oh. Thought Ben, Joe, and I were all going to have babies. Oh, man.
Yeah, that was a good show a few weeks ago there.
Yes, Jamie.
Sitting there without the shirts, Mr. Crowley.
That'd be a hairy baby, man.
That was funny. They tell Mr. Crowley, what was it now? They were sitting there. Mr. Crowley gets up and leaves. He comes back, and they both got their shirts off.
Yeah. And then they come out with
episode.
Yeah, then they come out with a Topless Tuesday. Topless Two-Topic Tuesdays.
Yeah, I missed that one. I didn't get to see that one.
Well, today's Tuesday, so hopefully they have a show today.
Yeah.
That'd be cool to watch. UFO Garage. If you guys have not subscribed to them, you are missing out. Check out UFO Garage on YouTube every Tuesday and Thursday.
Yeah, the one time I was abducted by aliens, I missed that one where they were on their topless.
Oh boy!
Today is Topless Tuesday. I'll have to tune in on this one.
Yep. Yeah, they were on there last week. The girls from that one time I was abducted by aliens podcast.
Yeah, I missed it. That's one I didn't get to see.
Oh, it's a riot. Let me tell you. It's cool to watch them though because they're goofy and they're laughing about it, but then they get into a really deep conversation. So it's hard to keep them. It's hard to take them seriously, and then you kind of forget that they're not wearing a shirt. So it's funny. Bree almost showed her nipples. Yeah, that's true. She kept forgetting. It's been
standing up.
She starts stretching and remembers she doesn't have a shirt on. So funny. Yep, she didn't get the memo that you're supposed to wear something down there. Not be completely
tassels. Pasties.
Wear some tassels.
Man, I wonder if I sent Ben and Joe tassels if they'd wear them.
Titty tassels? I'm
yeah,
sure.
I need to send them some.
Taco Tuesday topless.
Looking them up right now.
Topless Taco Tuesday titty twister tassels. I was trying to get all the T words.
I'm just saying, I bet they can get those things swinging like helicopter blades.
Oh my God, Sonny.
Oh man.
Oh my God.
Have him do the helicopter.
Got a dual prop helicopter. Oh jeez.
So much wind, they're gonna blow their screens over.
One thing else I'd like to say about technology is, 40, 50, 60 years ago, all these nuclear plants, right?
Yeah.
And now they're all coming up on the expiration dates.
Oh.
And we really don't have a long-term plan. There's really no place. At one point, the government was talking about hollowing out a mountain in Nevada and putting all the nuclear waste there. But, Nevada said, oh, really? That ain't going to happen.
Yeah.
Nobody wants it in their state.
Mm-hmm.
I think the only state that might be able to get away with that might be Wyoming, because a lot of Wyoming is government land. But sooner or later, they're going to have to, think of what they're going to do with all this radioactive waste. These plants are all running out.
Is that where the government owns so much property? It's like a little bit larger than the state of Rhode Island, I think.
It's probably more. Wyoming, a lot of it is government land. But they're going to have some kind of a plan for the future, because these plants are only good for so long. Like right now up in Maine, on the coast of Maine, there was a reactor they shut down 20 years ago. And the waste is still sitting there in drums. It's been sitting there for 20 years. I think it's just a little north of Rockland, Maine, right on the coast. It was called the Maine Yankee. And the plan was, when they disassembled the plant, that was supposed to be all hauled out of there, all that nuclear waste. It's been sitting there for 20 years in barrels. The avant-garde standing there. And just recently, we have another plant not far away in Massachusetts, Plymouth Plymouth, Mass, which is where the Pilgrims landed, right? Plymouth, Massachusetts.
Mm-hmm.
And they have a plant down there where it's time to shut it down. And they want to dump, I think it's a million, it might be 10 million gallons or some crazy amount of radioactive water into Cape Cod Bay.
What?
Yeah. Yeah. And so naturally everyone's against it. But what happens, you see, these are owned by, private power companies. They rape and pillage, take all the money, and when the time to shut down, it's like, see ya, right? Leave the big mess, and off they go.
You gotta wonder how something like that can even be legal, and then you can't have straws in certain areas.
Well, it
not allowed
isn't.
to have. Yeah,
it isn't. That's big business. Everything in this world is based on money, and unfortunately, there's no plan for the future, and that's why I say, the next couple generations, they got to come up with a plan for this stuff.
Yeah, so many generations had the idea of like, well, I don't know, I won't be here to see it.
And I'll tell you another thing about nuclear power plants is the Fukushima over in Japan.
Mm-hmm.
When they had the big problem over there, the tsunami and all that, they have been dumping 400 tons of radioactive water in the Pacific every day. And that's been going on for over 10 years now.
What?
400 tons a day. Because what they have to do is they have to keep those reactors cool. Even though they're all screwed up and messed up, they have to keep those cores cold.
Oh.
So they don't explode or melt down, whatever they do. And so it got to the point, they just too much radioactive water. So they've been dumping it in the Pacific. And 4 years ago, they said there is no spot in the Pacific right now where the water is not radioactive.
Really?
Yes, and we're at the point now where it's affecting the the wildlife.
Oh,
This is like right now, they'll take Pacific salmon and stuff and dissect them and find tumors, stuff like this. Reproductive organs are failing in killer whales, stuff like this. They said I have heard some people say that, within 10 years, there might not even be killer whales because, they've been having so much trouble with reproduction.
Yeah.
But it's amazing. Like, you got to remember, Sonny, you go to the beach in California, you stick your feet in that water, it's now radioactive. There is some trace of radioactivity in that water.
Well, yeah, that almost feels like, if you can't get rid of it, then we've already, the damage is done. That's insane.
Well, no one has a plan. Nobody's got a plan, and a lot of these things are going to come down at the same time. I don't know how many nuclear reactors are actually in the United States, but it has to be the thousands.
Mm-hmm.
It has to be.
And it's all generating nuclear waste.
Yep, and they all generate nuclear. At some point, they got to be shut down, and, this stuff has to be contained. And the other thing is, even when they contain it, even the containers have a half-life. They're taking something with a half-life of 50,000 years, and they want to stick it in a drum that's good for, 150 years.
Yeah.
And so at some point, everything's going to come down. They got to think of what they're going to do with nuclear waste. And, it's just magnified. When you think of the world, you think of the country, how many plants there are. It's insane.
Just Illinois by itself has 11.
There you go. Just in Illinois. And picture another thing. Picture an EMP or something that takes the grid down.
Mm-hmm.
How are we going to keep these things under control, right? They could run away.
Absolutely.
Some kind of a catastrophe, a natural catastrophe, a solar flare, a meteorite.
Mm-hmm.
And, who's going to be taking care of these power plants, right?
Yeah.
But it's something, like I said, the future generations have their hands full. They really do.
Yeah, I know. It's making me a little anxious. Here, think of all the things that we have going on right now that, I don't know.
Yeah.
I was going to say there's other things too that that have been invented in the past. Man, I'm going to have to think real hard to figure out what that was. But there was something the other day I was listening to. It had something to do with World War II, some invention. And when it was invented, all the paperwork and everything was destroyed to keep it a secret. And whatever department came up with that dissolved or whatever. And the only people that knew the secret to this equation died. So now we're left with whatever, I can't remember the story, but we're left with whatever technology that was, and we can't figure out how it works. I don't remember what that is now.
Yeah, unfortunately, everything is based on the almighty dollar. No matter what they say, you'll find the otherwise. Everything comes back to the dollar. And like I said, private companies, made millions and millions of dollars for 20, 30 years, and their plan is to walk away and leave it for somebody else.
Right.
That's what we have right now.
Make their money and keep on going.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a sad state of affairs, but like I said, future generations, with all this technology, if they don't use it for good, I don't think man is really going to be here long.
Yeah, I don't think so either, actually. I mean, just the speed at which we're destroying ourselves is pretty fast right now.
That's what I was telling Big Willie in the chat earlier, was about, those kids at that school in Zimbabwe, 1994, they were given a message from the gray aliens. And the message was that technology would be humans' downfall, right?
Mm-hmm.
That would be that our technology would get so dangerous that we wouldn't be able to handle it. And I was telling you, Chad, the other day that, I'm old enough to remember that when that aerial school encounter happened, that just happened to be right around the same time period that personal computers were starting to be going into our homes in the mainstream. And I really think that the reason that message was sent to those innocent little kids there in the aerial school was because we were to be heeded a warning, right?
Mm-hmm.
That we should be very, very careful and tame ourselves. But, I don't think that we did a very good job of listening to that warning.
Not at all. Good point, Spooky.
I think.
But, like I said, technology can go either way,
Well, Eddie, you're from a generation that you knew our world before the internet, before the technology. And sometimes, I wonder, what guys like you think about the benefits or the negative side, of the technology overall.
Yeah, I see more negative than I do positive, actually, Spooky, I can't call it progress unless it's for the good of man. And more times, you see progress that has come from computers. It's, evil purposes. I mean, weaponization, it's ridiculous. A lot of times, if what I was hoping to see with the advancement of computers was making life simpler, but it really didn't make man's life simpler. It made it more complicated. Life was much more simpler back in the 60s, the 70s, the 80s. Life was so simple and so pleasurable. And today, it's like you're constantly on guard from technology because,
right.
You got to protect yourself from technology today,
Mm-hmm.
But so much I've seen, even some of the simplest technology, become what I call anti-technology. And if it isn't for the good of man, to me, it's anti-technology. But some of the simplest things in life have been destroyed by technology.
Mm-hmm.
And just to make a little equation on that is even take the sport of fishing. I've always been a fisherman. And, back in, I don't know how many years ago, all of a sudden they come out with fish finders, right? A simple device, right? But now, instead of fishing being about two guys in a boat, nature, conversation, it became some guy in a boat staring at a computer screen. And, I never allowed a fish finder on any of my boats because it takes the fun right out of it. To me, it's anti-technology, and, it isn't helping the fish either, right?
Right.
But, not even computer technology. Sonny can relate to this. Back in the 60s and 70s, they had these little slot cars. And you'd go to we had this place in town where they had a track. And you'd bring your slot cars there to race them. You could put up money and win prizes and stuff like that. And one day they come out with this little car. We had these little HO racing cars. One day they came out with one that was called Magna Traction. So no matter how fast you went, it wouldn't fall off the track. So it took all the skill out of the slot car racing, if you can understand that. Whereas before, you'd have to control the throttle of the car, slow down in the corners, stuff like that. And, it was a game of skill. They developed a little car that would never fall off the track. So what was the sense, right? What was the fun anymore? It took the fun right out of it, so everyone stopped doing it. But that's just simple technology that was anti-technology. Fish finders and even slot cars, they destroyed that. But, life was very, very simple. And, I always thought that, computer technology would make everyone's life simpler, but all I see is more complication. A lot of times. I'm not saying it's all bad. Look what we're doing here. I mean, this is something we wouldn't be able to do, right? 4 guys in 4 different parts of the country. This is a wonderful thing. But for everything wonderful, you can find a couple things that ain't.
Yeah, unfortunately, I mean, I do think about that. How there's technology that it's unreal that we can have this conversation and spread ideas, and it's that part right there is really healthy for us. Spooky, the other day I was having some crazy anxiety, and Spooky was like kind of leading me in a little bit of meditation, and it was like instant anxiety relief.
Yeah.
And that's just something that we could do right here, and it's instantaneous from across the country. Yeah.
I knew Spooky was a meditator like the first time I ever talked to him, just in a chat. I knew right away. I read people like books, but I've meditated all my life. I meditate every day. What I do generally is I take a 5-mile hike every day through the woods, not on streets. I'm talking dirt, single track trails through the woods, rain, snow, roots, rocks, stumps, uphill, downhill. Just about every day I take a 5-mile pilgrimage. And somewhere I usually sit down and, give a good half hour of meditation, and talk to my inner self.
That's wonderful.
You can accomplish a lot in life when you become, when you can talk to your inner self. And it's the way I describe meditation to a lot of people is, I mentioned this the other day with on Josh's show. Everyone's got a little man in a box inside them. And a lot of people go through their whole life and never talk to that little man. And he sits there, and he's got all these levers and switches and buttons. And he's sitting in that little box, and all the levers and switches and buttons are covered up with cobwebs. And he sits there day after day reading a newspaper, and no one ever talks to him. And all of a sudden, one day you turn around, and you knock on that little door, and you start talking to that little man. And he'll start pushing buttons. You have to be honest to that little man. He'll start pushing buttons and pulling levers and hitting switches. And when he starts working with you, there's nothing you can't accomplish. And that's what meditation is to me.
Yeah, that's a beautiful way of putting that.
Yeah, the little man in a box. And
you relate to that, Spooky?
Well, I mean, a lot of people, think that you're going to go into meditation, and a lot of people nowadays, especially with the the people looking for UFOs and trying to find beings. I think that if people would first take the time to get to know themselves, then when you're living in that present moment of you with yourself, only then are you really able to take that next step through that meditation into the other places that your mind can take you. Your mind is more diverse and more wondrous than any computer that's ever been built by man. We have the most amazing abilities within ourselves. And I just when I push the idea of meditation practice for people, what I'm really asking you to do is to consider giving yourself that time, getting to know you. And when you do that, the power that's within yourself is incredible.
Yeah, well said, Spooky. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. You have to find yourself. You have to find yourself to accomplish what you want in life. And most people, it's almost the way I describe it. It's like you almost have to turn around and have a conversation with yourself. You have to turn around. It's hard to explain, but you actually have to talk to that little man who's in there. And
well, Eddie, from the native roots, that the native ancestors of ours warned us that we were losing our spirituality, and we need to find that again. We need to find that spirituality within us.
Yeah. Well, that's one thing technology has really destroyed.
That's right.
It really has spirituality. And even religion, people just, religion is secondary now. Not too many people go to church anymore compared to, 30, 40 years ago,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I can remember being young, and a Sunday was a very special day. You'd wear your best clothes, you go to church, and you didn't play with your friends on a Sunday. You did a family thing. It was maybe the family would go to another relative's house, or the family would get together and take a ride in the car and go to a park or something, or you'd spend the time with your family. Sunday was the day of family and spirituality, and people have completely gotten away from that now. Sunday's just another day of the week.
Yeah, it's crazy how quickly that's changed.
Yeah. In fact, when I was a boy, nothing was open on a Sunday. Everything was closed. All the stores were closed. I don't know if Sonny's old enough to remember any of that.
Yep.
But
everything was closed on Sunday.
Yeah, everything was closed. Nothing was open. Today, Sunday's just another day of the week. I think mankind has lost something along the way as far as spirituality.
Yeah.
But like Eddie was saying, for me, I can go to the temple, I can go to the synagogue, I can go to the church, but for me, there is no place for me to find my spiritual self other than spending time with Mother Earth. And the same way he takes his time going for his hikes and meditating out, in the woods. I over here, I do meditate mostly out in my garden here, but I also, my favorite place to meditate is on the ocean, on the beach.
Yeah.
It's incredible.
Yep. I have gone through life, basically, simple, trying not to, leave a very small footprint on this earth, and a lot of that's from my Native American heritage. And, I just have so much respect for the world, I mean, we're just borrowing this world from our grandchildren and our children, we're just leasing it, And one thing we've gotten away from is, people are so self-centered. They don't think of the future generations and what they have to deal with. And, I look at my grandson, he's 10 years old. And I say to myself, my God, this generation, they got so much they're going to have to deal with. We didn't give them any help, and that's in the name of money. That's what's happened to mankind. It's basically we could care less about the future as long as we make our money. And, you see it in everything, governments, private businesses. It's all about the dollar. And with the technology we have, this world could be a much better place. And the technology isn't really being used to our benefit. But, we can't change that now. We really can't.
Yeah, I don't see it turning around unless something happens with, like you said, like maybe a coronal mass ejection or something from the sun that knocks out all the electricity, which, like you said, would be very devastating to civilization and would put us back into a different type of living. But I hate to say it, but it's almost like I wonder if that's what needs to happen.
Well, I think it's inevitable, actually. I think at some point, theorists suggest that there may have been as many as 6 civilizations on Earth.
Mm-hmm.
And chances are it was the prior one that built the pyramids. Some of the buildings in South America are more fascinating than the buildings in Egypt.
Mm-hmm.
I can't pronounce all the places, Pinka Punku and, some of these places down there where, megalithic stones, you're talking, 35, 40 tons, but not only are they megalithic, but some of these stones are, a mile and a half up a mountain.
Right.
It's like, and they're not even from that area, so we rolled them on logs.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And the closer, they don't even have logs because they're above the tree level.
Right.
And, some of the things across the world, the unanswered questions, but even the pyramids over in Egypt, they show signs. I can't think of the name of the temple, but it shows like melted burn marks on one side, like there was a catastrophic event at some point in history.
Mm-hmm.
And that's probably when that civilization ended. Was it some kind of a nuclear war in a previous civilization, or was it some kind of mass ejection from the sun that killed the last civilization? We don't know, but I know one thing: the Egyptians did not build the pyramids, and the Mayans didn't build all those temples in South America. That's for sure.
Right.
No way. No one. We can't do anything close to that today. We can't even make a replica of the pyramid.
No, like even this thing right here, like this building here, it looks like it was all formed from the ground up, but this was actually carved from the top down out of a mountain.
I'm not too sure, but I know there's one in China, and it's carved out of one piece of granite, and this might be it.
Yeah, when I looked it up, it said that this was all carved out of one mountain.
Was this in China?
That I don't know I don't know the location of it.
Yeah, it almost looks like India too, though, the way that lady's dressed. But even India, a lot of these countries, they have incredible stuff.
Yeah, this one here says India.
Yeah, there you go. Look at this. This was all carved out of one piece of rock.
Mm-hmm. Unreal.
Yeah.
They had to get it done in one shot was all they had.
Yeah, it wasn't our civilization.
Wasn't the TikTok civilization.
No, we didn't have the skills. They obviously had some type of way to either fuse or melt stone, levitate stone. They had other things.
I have heard of levitating stones through like
sound wave.
Yeah, what do they call that? Sematics.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if any of you guys, I've never been there personally, but Coral Castle in Florida. Nope. I think it's in Homestead, Florida.
Yeah, that's amazing.
One little guy, Spooky, right? He was like 5'2".
Yeah,
and
just a
he
little
moved.
Guy.
He moved these stones all by himself, and people claim that he somehow moved these stones with sound waves.
When was this supposedly?
Oh, this guy was in the 50s, I think. And here's Coral Castle. One guy built this place all by himself.
All by himself, no help.
Really?
And some of these things align with the stars and everything else. It's crazy.
They compare it to Stonehenge, at least as far as the way that he was able to handle that weight of stone.
Yeah, he was one little guy. And the most amazing thing about it, there he is. Edward Leedskellen, I think his name was. But the most amazing thing about Coral Castle is he actually built it and then moved it. He moved it to another location like 20 miles away.
Really?
He was having trouble with vandalism or something. And he said, screw this. And he took the whole thing, and he'd have a truck pull in the middle of the night. And he'd tell the truck driver to leave. And the truck driver would come back in the morning. The truck would all be loaded up with stones. And the same thing, he'd have the guy drive to the new location, park the truck, and tell the guy to leave. And somehow he would take these stones off. And he used to claim he had the secrets of the pyramids. He used to tell people that. And,
man, somebody this motivated, I'd almost have to believe him.
He obviously had some kind of a levitation knowledge of levitation, because to move these stones, insane. And he was all alone.
This is that shape that you see at the entrance of the main the Great Pyramid. That's what the entrance looks like. It's got stones stacked up like that.
Yeah.
You see what Mr. Crowley's saying?
What's he saying, Mr. Crowley?
That it was very controversial, the castle, and that it was impossible to do with the info that he gave us. He had to have had help.
Oh, okay.
But he didn't. As far as I know, he didn't have help. He was all by himself. There was plenty of people who witnessed it. You know, he lived there by himself. And
I wonder if maybe he's suggesting that there was like help from out of this world.
Oh, okay.
I mean, I'm not sure what he means, but it could be.
Yeah, well, that's a possibility.
Oh, my God. Jamie. We got Sonny already, Chad. We had to reschedule because of Bree's death. Would you stop talking about Bree's death?
When she said that.
Good Lord. She is not going to die. Good Lord. Be easy on Bree. I want to come talk about...
Come on here right now?
She can come on here right now.
I think she wants a link.
All right. I'll drop the link in the chat. This is supposed to be a Eddie Haskell Part 2 and a listener call-in. So if anybody's interested in hanging out with us and
you were
talking
going
to
to say this was supposed to be a rated G.
Yeah, really. I don't know if any of our I don't know if that's possible. Not with Sonny in here.
Yep, that's right.
It's always rated R or rated M for mature.
It's rated R for sailors.
Right. So what do you got going on these days, Eddie? Working on any projects or anything?
Oh, I've had my hands full. Let me tell you, all through the holidays. I have a couple elderly relatives. My parents have since passed, but I have couple elderly aunts, and they need help a lot, and they didn't have kids, so I'm the nephew, who helps them. And
oh, okay.
I've got one aunt, and she had 3 car accidents between November and New Year's.
3 car accidents?
And she's pushing 90 years old.
Oh, okay. Man.
Now,
she likes to get around.
You can't be the guy, Chad, to say you can't, you can't be the guy to take the keys away, okay?
Yeah, I wouldn't want to be.
It's a touchy situation. And not only did she have 3 car accidents in 3 months, she lost 4 sets of keys.
Oh.
I had
hey, Crowley, you'll have to... Yeah, you'll have to mute us in the background, Crowley.
Hold on.
Still got your YouTube up.
She had 2 sets of car keys. She lost them both. I went to the dealership. I got 2 more sets. Then she found the one she had, but they're no good.
Oh,
so now she's got 4 sets, so they're no good. And then she loses the next 2. I go back to the dealership to get her 2 more keys. I went over there the other day. She already lost 1. You know, it's like, oh man, it's like a never-ending circle. You know, it's like,
Yeah.
oh my God. And she's had 3 car accidents, you know, since Thanksgiving. But unfortunately, none of them were her fault. It was other people's
so much shit going on.
She was almost 90 years old, but other people are crashing into her.
Oh, God.
So, you know, if it was her fault, you know, I could say, you know, it might be time to take the keys away, you know.
Yeah.
But when it's somebody else's fault, how do you you can't really, you know, just the other day she was taking a right into the street she lives on, and some guy tried to pass her on the right as she was trying to take a right.
Okay, I have 2 problems right now.
What's going on?
Jamie said she's in love with Spooky. She was supposed to be in love with me. And Spooky is muted, and he has that generic ass picture put up. So
Spooky, I think he has to leave every now and then to take care of his grandma.
No,
but
I know
he'll be
Spooky
back.
got some shit going on. So.
He'll be back.
We're pretty close, actually. So.
Oh, good. That's cool.
But Jamie in love with Spooky? No, I can't accept that. No.
There's 2 Jamies in love with Spooky?
Jamie is in love with Spooky.
Look, what the fuck?
I'm not sure why there's 2. Jamie, how come there's 2 Jamies?
I don't know how I'm in here twice, but I am.
I'm going to kick you on the other one that's not talking.
Kick her!
There, can you still hear us?
Okay, there we go. Beautiful.
Okay, good. We got
Spooky!
And we got Spooky back.
My brother.
Hello, my BBs.
What's happening,
I
loves?
want to let you know that Aleister Crowley is my favorite, and we wouldn't have space without him.
No,
Okay.
but you're in love with Spooky, so don't talk shit.
I am in love with Spooky, but I'm also in love with Chad, and I'm also in love with Mr. Crowley, and I'm also in love with Sunny. Listen, I would be a polygamist.
What about Eddie Haskell? We got Eddie, our guest. Our guest needs some loving too.
Yeah.
We have a mess going on.
Eddie, I don't know you, but I will be more than happy to marry you.
Oh, really?
We have such a mess going on right now.
She's that kind of lady. You know, if someone needs some loving.
Wow, she's getting lots of it. Tommy, what's up, dude?
I'm kidding.
There you go.
Oh, man.
With your Chicago hat. Yeah, you suck. Anyway.
Da Bears.
The Bears.
I'm a Bears fan, man.
Yeah, let's talk about those Bears. Danny Aykroyd, how's those Bears doing over there? Da Bears.
You know what sounds funny is when you say chop shop with the Bears voice.
The Bears hanging out over there in the chop shop.
Yeah, in the chop shop.
In the chop shop there.
You know what's fucked up is like my hair is all messed up, so I put my son's, Freddy Fazbear hat on.
Hey man, you gotta do what you gotta do.
That's right.
Well, it's either that or my bald spot. So. No, but like I was like super interested to talk to Eddie because he's in my kind of central zone, where we live and what have you, and he seems to have a lot of interesting circumstances that kind of correlate with mine.
Mm-hmm.
So
that guy's amazing.
Where are you, Mr. Crowley?
I am in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania.
Oh, Pittsburgh. Okay.
Yes, sir. Northeast.
Yeah, I'm in New Hampshire.
Yeah, I'm not so much northeast, but yeah, your voice, you remind me of my best friend that lived beside me in the Keys. It is so awesome. Love it.
Nice.
So, what are some things that that you guys have that correlate together?
A lot of the visions, a lot of what we've seen, what we've experienced, the lights in the sky, the things that we've seen. I mean, it seems to be a big Northeast thing. So,
I wonder why that is. Have you found anything that ties to that? That would explain that?
I don't know. I mean, I grew up outside of Kecksburg, so we have that, and different situations. It's a couple months ago. Hi, Bree.
How's it going, Bree?
But a couple months ago, I was standing outside on my porch here in Pittsburgh, and I saw an orange globe going across the sky. Okay. Number one, it went too far to be a drone. Okay, it had no flashing lights. It had anything else. I looked at my kids. They were all there, and they all saw it. And I said, "Do you see that?"
Oh.
And they're like, "Yes." And I'm
Nice.
like, "Do you see that?" And they're like, "Yes." I said, "That's an airplane with the flashing lights."
Mhm.
Okay, this thing was traveling across the sky way too fast to be the International Space Station. It was traveling way too fast and way too straight to be any kind of satellite. And it went directly across our periphery. And I told my kids, I was like, "Do you see that?" And they were like, "Yes." And we watched it. No sound, no anything.
Was it low on the horizon? Unlike a satellite, right? It was might be lower to the horizon.
Exactly.
Yeah,
It was
impressive.
lower. Yeah. It was lower on the horizon. It could not have been a satellite. It could not have been an ISS. It could not have been anything. We all saw it.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? So what is it?
Yeah. Well, like I said, a lot of times I think you see what they want you to see. I think they're masters in cloaking technology. You know, they can manipulate your mind.
Yeah, I honestly wish, of course, it's every UFO incident, it's every UFO explanation. I didn't have my phone. I couldn't record it.
Mm-hmm.
But the simple fact is, I know what I saw. I know what my kids saw. We all saw the same thing. You know, and it went way too far to be any kind of drone.
Yeah.
You know, so.
Yeah, at a future point, I'm going to be talking. I'll be coming in again to talk to Chad about my abduction experience. And when I saw the craft, I saw a craft from my deck. And being a person who, you know, doesn't walk around with a cell phone in my pocket 24/7, here I am. I'm looking at a craft, and like it was such a what the fuck moment that it was like shit. The last thing I thought about was my phone was like 10 feet away, right inside a door. And it was the last thing on my mind was grabbing my phone to take a picture.
No, exactly. Absolutely. It was, I told my kids, I was like, "Do you see that? We see that. It doesn't matter if I have a fucking phone. It doesn't matter if I recorded it. The simple fact is, we saw it."
Yeah. I think to myself, if I had been anyone else, if I had been, say, Chad, he'd probably get his phone in his pocket 24/7. Because of his age, you know, yeah. When I'm not on the phone, mine's usually like plugged in on the counter, you know, or if I'm in the car, it's in a backpack or something, you know. I never have the thing easy access ever because I actually use my phone as a phone.
Right.
Yep.
Yeah, just
but, yeah, when I had like I said, I was on my deck and I had a craft, you know, 300 feet down the street, you know, dead center, and I'm looking at it like this can't be happening. And you know, my phone was 10 feet away, and it was the last thing on my mind was to grab the phone.
I actually had the opportunity to go back in the phone and grab go back to the house and grab my phone and take a picture, but I was just trying to, you know, be with my kids and the witnesses and be like, "Do you see this?" You know, I didn't need my phone to prove what I saw. I had my witnesses, and it was what it was. I mean, it could have been something. It could have been a satellite. It could have been the space station. It could have been whatever else. But everything I looked up refuted that evidence. You know, it was something, and it was something that traveled over a mile. There is no drone that I know that can travel under, you know, supervision over a mile.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so that's.
Hey, Tony, have you been checking out Chris Bledsoe's posts on Instagram or
yeah, I've been
Facebook?
paying attention.
Mm-hmm.
I've been paying attention.
Have you been seeing any similarities with some of those orbs as what you've seen?
In a little bit.
Yeah.
What I saw, well, my orb that I saw was too perfect to be perfect, if that makes any sense. It was an exact round object. Exact. There was no dissimilarities in its size, its appearance, and everything else. It was exact.
Mm-hmm.
It was an exact orange orb traveling at a I'm ex-military. You guys know that, and I am an ex-laser infrared tech, and what I saw was just too perfect. It was too perfect. Is that something of ours, or is that something of theirs? You know what I mean?
Well, I know that in front of my own eyes, me and my kids, sometimes right here out in the garden, we see them, and they come pretty close, and they change sizes. They go in and out of different sizes, and sometimes even different shapes. So, yeah, it's not a surprise that you would see many different sizes and colors, and that's why the Chris Bledsoe one I keep going back to, because I tell you, he's recording what we've seen right here, but I just never. For me, I don't. I've told Chad before, interaction with orbs, for me, is a very spiritual thing, and I always feel inappropriate to try to record or video or take pictures. It's just not my vibe. I understand why people do it, and I appreciate him doing it. Maybe Chris has special reasons why he's doing it, but for me, I just don't feel right about it. It's like these people that use these laser pointers and point them in the sky to try to interact with the orbs. That's just not my jam. I can't get into that. I don't feel right about that.
Well, I don't care about what it was. We experienced it, and that was my main thing.
Exactly.
Was sharing it with my kids. That we all saw it. We all saw the aircraft above it with the blinking lights, and we could all differentiate what it was. Right. You know what I mean? Yeah. I don't have to record it. I don't have to share it with anybody. It was an experience.
Well, from my understanding, the way that I understand things is that it won't be very long at all before many, many more people will be seeing these things, and they won't even need to be recording them anymore.
Yeah. Why are we seeing them? That's one of my main things. Is have we enlightened to a point to where we can actually, understand these things, see these things, and comprehend these things, or has it come to a point to where they're like, here we are?
I think that's because there's a lot of people in the country that are just looking and starving for something to believe in right now. There's a lot of people that aren't taking very much. They don't have a whole lot of trust in their government and the people that are supposed to be in charge, and maybe they're coming down to
give
those people something to believe in.
So you're saying earlier, is it a tulpa? I'm sorry.
We're finding our spirituality, man. We're finding it's coming back to us.
But is it a tulpa, or are we creating these visions?
Oh, that's a good question.
Are we manifesting this thing?
For me,
our feelings.
For me, we are the universe, right? We are shared collective consciousness. So the answer for me is we are seeing us.
We're seeing
that
us.
Makes sense.
And not just like a future us, but like our current us, you mean? Or I don't know how to word that. Not like
we have been our souls. If you want to say that word, I'm more along the lines of spirit. Our spirits have gone through many lifetimes, many different bodies. Okay, so for me, when I'm seeing orbs, I'm seeing spirit.
Which is us.
Collectively.
Yeah, I understand that. That makes sense.
Yeah, I have actually never seen an orb. I never have.
That you remember.
Well, that's a possibility too, Spooky. Yeah. But I have seen a craft, it had something to do with my abduction experience. But at no point did I ever see an orb. Some of these orbs that I see, at the Bledsoes, it's remarkable. I know very little about orbs, but I have heard that a white or a yellow orb signifies good, and sometimes a darker color, a blue or a purple, could be something evil. I don't know too much about it, but
I mean, I had a white orb right here in this room, right here behind me, where those statues are, is where the white orb came out of the lighting of my right above the statues. I was telling people before that in this room that I sleep in, about 2 feet away from where I lay my head every night, is where I helped my grandfather pass over.
Oh.
And this was about 2 years ago. Right, exactly about 2 months before the first lockdown. He passed away while I held his hand, and his energy of his body went through me and through my hand, through my arm, all through my body. And I helped my grandpa's spirit pass over. And, what he saw as he passed over, I don't feel really comfortable describing it because it's such a personal thing for him.
Mm-hmm.
So I haven't made the decision to really describe, but I know that I was deep in the deepest meditation that I've ever been in, and I helped him pass over, and it was an incredible thing. And that's why I know that when this orb appears here in this room, that is him. This house was brand new when they bought it back in 95, and there is no other spirit in this house other than my grandfather. So, and he absolutely adored my grandmother. I mean, they were the most beautiful couple that you would ever know. They just loved each other and adored each other, and it killed him to have to leave her. That's why he held on to 94.
I love to hear that, bro. I love to hear that so much.
Yeah,
that's beautiful.
He when she had her open heart surgery about 6 years ago or so, he and I sat here in the middle of the night, and he cried and just cried and sobbed about how he didn't want to lose her, and I that was when he asked me if I would take care of her when he was gone.
Yeah, Spooky, my situation. I know your situation. You know what I mean? And what we both got going on. That is beautiful.
So. Thank you, man. Yeah, I just try to, I try to get people to see that it's much more than just about gray aliens and reptilians and flying saucers and pyramid shaped craft. For me,
it's a deeper perspective.
I believe there is no question in my mind of reincarnation. No question. Because of what I've seen when I helped him pass over, and what I've seen in my meditations, and since the pandemic happened, I know we shouldn't talk about COVID, but when COVID happened, everything started magnifying times a million here.
Absolutely.
I mean, over here where I live is right by the ocean, and I see the orbs fly from the west.
To be you. Anyway, go ahead.
They fly from the west. They fly to the north. They come here. I'll sit outside here in the night, on a clear night with my daughter, and we'll watch them pass over. And I've taught my daughter how to talk to them, how to thank them, how to be grateful, and express so much gratitude that they're willing to come and be with us. And that's exactly what they want. People. I know a lot of people don't like that. Stephen Greer, and I actually don't like what he's turned into either, but there is something in the CE5 methods. I don't really call it CE5, I just call it meditation. But as long as you're showing your gratitude, and you're thanking the universe for all the wonders and splendors that we've been gifted, because we just don't focus on the good stuff about a life and the world. But if you let the universe know how much you appreciate all the things that are great, that then you can start making that connection. I'm telling you, it's possible.
Okay, I can trim this down to basic bitchness. Okay, which is what I do. I'm ex-law enforcement. That's what I do. I'm ex-military. There is love and light. There is definitely love and light. And our negativity, where we've gone as a society, where we've gone as a species, has promoted nothing but negativity. And the simple fact is if enough of us hold on to the love and light, we hold on to the positivity, maybe we can change things.
There is goodness in every single person.
Absolutely. I agree with you 1,000%. That's why you're my brother. There is so much negative that's spewed out into the world. There is so much negativity on the news, on the TV. That's why I don't listen to the news. That's why I don't have TV, because it's just a promotion of terribleness. Whenever there's, like I said, love and light with us.
I was about to even give up on the internet.
Yeah,
I got goosebumps right now when we're talking about this.
Rejecting the negativity. That's all I can say. We're both going through shit in our lives. And the simple fact is you promote the kindness, the happiness, the love, and the beneficial things, and stop focusing on the negative things. I've heard about aliens being negative, taking over, doing this. They're in our political systems, they're in this, they're in that, what have you. But the simple fact is where do we give back a positive vibe through all this? Maybe they're thousands of years ahead of us and they understand where we fucked up. And they want to promote and accept, our changes in our behavior. Stop shutting people out. Stop being negative. Stop just refusing to look beyond your perspectives. Kind of my thing.
And then there's always that one theory or hypothesis that they may be us from the future.
There is absolutely no question about that, Eddie.
And, they may have picked this part of history because this is where mankind made a bad turn.
This is where we need to make a change.
Right. And this is the point in history that they have to come back and correct, perhaps. That's always crossed my mind, But like I said, it's just hypothetical. But a lot of people think of that. When you look at a gray alien, for instance, if you picture us as we evolved in, say, 2,000 years, with the technology we have, is probably what you see. You'd see a guy with no muscle structure, a large head, no mouth, no ears.
I knew that what you're saying is exactly the truth, 100%, without a doubt, a question in my mind. And I know that I'm not going through, a madness breakdown. I know it because of how long I've been meditating. And I was telling Chad, sometimes I'll go through the entire day, almost mid-meditation, in and out of meditation. I'm lucky that I live in a situation that I can do this, though. I know that. I mean, I'm very fortunate.
I'm jealous 1,000%. So
I am very lucky, but I think there's a reason why I've been, granted this gift, and that is so that I can fully understand myself, and then also try to let other people know it too. I'm nobody that special, except for that I am understanding myself, and myself. I can only speak for me. I can't speak for anybody else. And when people say, "Where's the proof?" We want to know. We want you to show us. Well, I can't show you what's happening in my meditations. I can only tell you. But what I can tell you in relation to what Eddie said is that I knew it for a fact. I knew it for a fact that what he said is right. When I was going in and out of different, a few dimensions, if you want to call it that. People love to put phrases on things, but I was going in and out of dimension. And yes, what people would say is a gray alien. And I was getting information and through thought processes. And I was learning and learning and learning about myself. And I realized at that moment, this was probably a few years ago, right here in the garden, I realized at that exact moment when that being was looking at me, I said, "Oh my God, that is me."
Oh.
And see, this is where
it was the most glorious thing that ever happened in my life.
See, this is where
it was unbelievable.
This is where I'm at as a country hillbilly. You know what I mean? I've traveled around the world and I've been so many places. But the simple fact is I've taken a step back from my pride. I have taken a step back from my alpha position and what have you. And I've learned to visualize and learn to see things beyond where and who I was.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
oh man, you gotta do meditation regularly, at least daily, man. You're gonna get so much out of it.
Eddie understands. Eddie and I have the kind of same speech pattern and everything else. It's our old school roots and mentality have adapted to understand the new school, situation and what's going on now. And as cliche as it may sound, or I'm not trying to be some basic bitch or what have you, but I've learned to open myself up, in my relationship with myself, in my relationship with my partners, in my relationship with the rest of the world. And that's what we need to do as a communal personality. We need to open ourselves up. We need to understand. We need to view bigger things.
I was telling Chad that one of my favorite quotes from the Dalai Lama is that if we taught meditation to all children starting at the age of 8, that we would end all the wars of the world.
And that's possible. I'm a big Alan Watts person. I don't know if you are familiar with Alan Watts.
Yeah, I love Alan Watts.
There are times that Alan Watts says something, God bless his soul, he's gone now. But there are times that he says something and you're like, holy shit. You know what I mean? I understand. I see where you're coming from, and you've given me a different perspective to the earth and life, what have you. And that's what we need to do, is we need to be or be accepting of different viewpoints, of different.
Greg O'Brien in the chat put it perfectly with 3 letters.
Ego.
And Chad and actually Spooky knows I'm in the middle of a divorce. After 15 years, and my ego created where I'm at today.
Same.
My ego created the problems and the issues that I have. And until you accept the fact that you're responsible for these things, until you open up your eyes, until you accept the unaccepted, until you believe in yourself and believe in the people around you, nothing's going to change. And that's where we're at with the ufology thing. It's until you open your eyes and you accept other people's visions, you accept other people's stories, you embrace them, you accept them, and you support them. We're never going to move beyond that. That's just how I feel right now.
What you have a lot of time is closed-minded people, and one thing I have always tried to do in my life is I always look at things from other people's perspectives, and sometimes you see something that you missed, You may have an opinion about a person, and then the more you analyze them, you realize that maybe this was a very good person after all. You have to look at things from multiple perspectives, and take your prejudices and put them aside.
And I don't mean to, one thing I hate to do and try to discourage people, like one time Chad asked me, does that mean that, there were no flying saucers, or, there are no, people's accounts of their encounters with alien beings and things? I said, no, that doesn't mean that stuff is not true, and that those aren't, actual accounts and that people are going through. That doesn't mean that at all. But what it should say to you is that there are so many beings on this planet that we have yet to identify, right? Why wouldn't there be? And let's talk about under the sea. How much of the, they say that we've only explored less than 1% of the ocean's floor. All right. So there are beings that we don't even know of right here on this planet, in our sight, in our 3D dimension.
I am 1,000% with you on this.
Oh yeah,
why wouldn't there be just as many, if not more, beings?
I wish Wild Trees was here right now to join in on this. Because him and I have an electronics degree, and I'm kind of a critical thinker, as far as that. And I actually started an environmental degree, and he was an environmentalist. And we need to start looking at things analytically, from these professional, perspectives. And until we actually take it serious, it's never going to be serious. Until we take it serious, and we need to critically think in our fields and in what we understand, what we believe, what we know, to bring this to light and make it a real thing. It is a real thing. I 1,000% believe that. It is a real thing. What we're looking at, what we're experiencing, what is in the news is a real thing. But until we actually put the energy and the science and the belief and the study into it, it's never going to manifest.
And when I talk about how we have to, learn, we have to get away from ego, and we have to show unconditional compassion and empathy for others, all living beings. And when we do that, that is when we're going to make that next ascension, right? So, but the beauty of it is, the thing that always gets me through when I'm at my darkest times, and I do go through dark times, but what gets me through it is the miraculous thing that we're all going through this together at the same time. We're fighting, we're bickering, we're on UFO Twitter, we're in these chat rooms, and we're going through all this stuff as a family, but we are getting through it together at the same time, and that's a really beautiful thing. That is what the universe wants. All of us being together, united, connected, taking care of each other.
Collective consciousness of good. That's the glue that has to hold us together.
We just have to get better.
Well, just like with our partners, we have to be better at listening. We have to be better at accepting. We have to be better with our differences between each other. We have to be better at all these things for everything to work.
These are the tests that we're all put through in life. Isn't life just like this one great test?
I've always felt that way.
It's the oneness. It's the oneness.
Yeah.
It's like I was telling Ben the other night. We were talking. He was asking me my theories on consciousness.
Still mad about that.
But I was telling him that my ideas of consciousness is that consciousness is like my beautiful Pacific Ocean over here that I live by. Those waves, the waves that come in to the shore, and we get on our surfboards and we get up there and we take those waves, and how do we handle them? Do we handle it well? Do we crash and or do we see our buddies, other surfers that are out there trying to catch the same wave? how do we deal with them? Do we cut them off, or do we give them a chance to, take that wave and share it with us? Then once the aftermath is done and that wave crashes, what happens? That wave goes back out into the ocean or back out into the universe, right? That wave of consciousness. It puts back into the universe what we just went through. Okay. That to me is consciousness.
I took in everything you said, but I want to be Mr. Crowley, the dick, and I want to call out Sonny, and I want to hear his opinions, here's his thoughts, and here's everything about this. He's been kind of silent,
right
and
on.
I want to hear where he's at, what he thinks, what he believes, and what have you. I want to take in the whole party kind of thing.
Yeah, right on.
Yeah, you're welcome, Sonny. Unmute that.
I'm sorry, guys. I'm on the phone. Give me 1 second.
Okay. I figured he was. He was sitting there talking in the sideline. I just wanted to
Hey, Chad, how about you, man? What do you think about this crazy talk?
Man, I'm you know me. I'm still new to this, and I'm always taking in your advice, but I don't know. Every day is different. Like every single day that we are on this path, I find something else different that stands out. And you know that I've tried I've only tried meditating once, and that was yesterday. I forgot to tell you that. But I did. I sat in bed with my back to the wall, and I put my little white noise machine on that I got for Christmas. And I mean, it was different than, like, I thought it was going to be like a feeling of kind of like right before you go to sleep. And I kind of was sleepy, but it was like a different, I'm trying to speak for everyone out in the chat that hasn't tried it before. It's different than falling asleep. It's different than, you're right about to go to sleep. It's a totally different feeling for me. It was like you were almost weightless, but you were kind of just in a really super calm state. And what I was repeating to myself was that daily affirmation that you sent me, the 3 words, I'm happy, I'm healthy, and I'm wealthy. Right. And I just kept saying that over and over in my head and was concentrating on my breath. And when you do that long enough, you definitely go into a place where you're not thinking of anything else, and you just feel peaceful. It feels really peaceful when you're blocking out all that extra noise that's always in your head and all the different thoughts that you have about what's going on in the world and the health of your family, and you're worrying about paying the bills and all that stuff. It just kind of melts away, and it's definitely something everyone should try. And I definitely plan on doing more of, because it's super easy. It's the one thing people always complain about not doing that takes no effort. I mean, there's a lot of things that people complain about not doing, but it does take a lot of effort, to do chores or something around the house. But something as simple as just blocking, sitting quietly and taking the time to just block everything out.
Creating positive. A lot of benefits, and it's free. You don't have to spend any
Super
money.
free. Yep.
Creating positive changes and positive habits. You know what I mean? It's our lives are encircled by negativity. Okay. Mm-hmm. Until you learn to break that negative cycle with everything. Okay. It doesn't just revolve around you. It revolves around everybody that you revolve around. Okay. You have to break the negative cycle around those people and around yourself.
Mm-hmm.
You have to take it upon yourself to be a bigger person to make those differences, because you will positively impact yourself, okay, as far as your positivity and where your cycle is going. But around the people that you love, around the people you're involved with and you care about, you have to break their negative cycle as well. And in the end, everything will be a much beneficial thing for you and the people you love and the people you're around. You will not only change your life, you will change their lives.
Right.
I need to work with Spooky on the whole I'm not a very meditative person, but I'm a very positive person.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and the simple fact is the whole negativity toward the alien races, what's this, what's that, what's have you, is you shut out possibilities by being negative with people. Okay, you shut out those possibilities.
100%.
Okay, and the simple fact is, if you react positively to somebody, to their thoughts, to their beliefs, no matter, it doesn't matter if you think they're crazy, if you think, you know, that it's insane or whatever, you positively affect those people by accepting them. You know what I mean? Accepting their possibilities, their thoughts, and what have you. And the simple fact is, we will never achieve a higher level of enlightenment until we learn to accept. It doesn't mean you have to agree. It doesn't mean you have to believe. It means you have to accept.
Right on.
And that's where I'm at on it.
Yeah, I agree with you, man. 100%.
Awesome, man. Yeah, I believe 100% too, man. Yeah, when you said shutting out, or, you know, staying in like a negative state definitely shuts out the people that are doing that. That's like a natural thing that people want to do, is when they see negativity. There's a lot of people that, you know, like Spooky would try to help them through that. But if, you know, there's other people that aren't used to like jumping in and helping out with something, like with someone that's in a negative state like that, and they might just step away and just avoid them. And that's not always the best thing to do for both people.
How would the world be if we were all positive? How would the world be
if we all work towards the same goal?
Thank you.
Yeah,
Thank you.
amazing.
I mean, if we don't agree, we don't have to. We don't have to agree. We don't have to believe. We have to just support, kind of thing. You know, like I said, I'm ex-military, I'm ex-law enforcement. I've come from a huge negative background and job things. But one thing I've learned is supporting somebody, believing in them, giving them your trust, giving them your understanding, elevates the whole relationship to a different point. So if we all do this, if we all accept each other, if we all believe in each other, if we all, you know, put in for some effort, you know, maybe we'll be somewhere we never dreamed.
Yeah.
As silly and sappy as that sounds, and I hate myself for saying it because I'm the alpha male. I'm the alpha male. You know what I mean? I'm the guy that's going to wrap you up and take you down and what have you. But the simple fact is you have to change your viewpoint. You have to.
Well, it's clear to me, Tony, that you've spent a lot of time thinking about your place. You've been in many different situations in your life, and I mean, I've probably go back to, you know, your time in the military. And you know, you had to be this alpha male, of course, and you had to be this protector of our land, and you know, you did something that was so generous of you to give yourself to the service like that. But you also seem to have really, you know, taken the time to understand more about you as a human and about your place in the world. And you know, that says so much about you, about your willingness to look outside that.
Well, I gave up on humanity. I gave up on humanity. I did a few years back. I was like, humans suck. They're fucking terrible, you know. And I gave up on humanity a few years back. But I'm trying to take a retro look back and be like, you know, what you were just looking at the bad. Let's look at the good and move forward with that. You know, but either I'm gonna have to take a break or buy some Depends.
No, actually, I was just gonna. We're over our 3-hour mark, so I was just gonna start wrapping this up and saying thank you for everybody that was hanging out with us today. Thank you, Eddie Haskell, for your second showing on the show.
Well, thank you, Chad.
And we have more to talk about, so we'll definitely have you on soon again.
Yeah, I'll be getting back at some point. I still have the abduction experience to go through.
Yeah.
And we could probably make a show of that.
Yeah, just let me know when you're ready. We can get you booked
Chad.
up.
Yeah, we'll be in touch.
All right, Eddie. Appreciate you being
I'm
here.
jumping out. Nice seeing you.
Love you, Eddie Haskell.
Thanks,
buddy.
buddy.
Man, have a good day.
Unfortunately, unfortunately, Chad, with my schedule and what I do, my availability to hang out with you guys and be a participant is extremely limited. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So
Well,
I would support you from afar. I'm a mailman.
Yeah.
So at 10 o'clock in the morning, I'm delivering mail.
That's right. You know what I mean? Yeah, I remember that now that you say it.
Yeah, so I can't really be a positive part of, your podcast, your community. I believe in you. You've done great things.
Well, thank you so much for being here this morning. It was
you already are part of our community. You are the fam.
Absolutely.
Yeah. I love you guys.
You're in it.
At all times. So.
Well, thanks for being here, bud.
And we'll have Sonny never gave us his perspective, so I'm still waiting for that. So,
got
closing moments.
Oh, I'm sorry. Was that when I was on the phone?
Closing moments. Yeah,
man.
You were on the phone.
I'm sorry. I got a phone call from Cassie.
Oh.
But it wasn't our Cassie. I thought it was, so I thought it was important.
Oh, okay. I was going to say, if Cassie's calling during the show, it must be important.
Yep, but it wasn't her. It was a different Cassie.
Thanks, Greg, for subscribing. Bye, Tony. All right, guys. Well, thanks for... I didn't mean to permanently kick him. But yeah, thank you guys for hanging out with us. Spooky, thanks for hanging out with us on the show this morning.
Thank you.
Contributing to the conversation. It's always fun.
Thank you.
And we will see everyone Thursday.
Yes, sir.
Bye,
Thank you, guys. See y'all later.